Hello there, misfits. For tonight's Midnight Ranting, we are talking Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark.
Not the snark.
Fact or fiction. Yeah, a little bit different. In this episode, we are putting the global flood story into the hot seat. So come join James W., myself, Amy Newman, and our special guest host, Mark Reid. Hi.
Hey, Mark.
Hello.
As
the flood does better than Mohammed did in your hot seat.
Exactly. As we build an ark-load of fun.
Maybe you could have flown the Ark to the moon.
Should have told him that. He would have.
That's right. If only we could get more modern day miracles. They seem to have all gone away. Funny how that works.
Imagine Christians cheering for genocide. Woohoo, genocide!
Yeah,
Everybody
what a
drown.
lovely day for genocide. Anyway, I want to thank all of you out there for joining us out there on the intertubes. If you have recently... The big inner tubes. This is how they actually pump the internet through. But if you got your booster shot, now is your time to get your 5G ready.
Bilge pumps on the Ark.
Exactly. Hopefully they could send like a GPS. It's like a Titanic version. There's two people at the last, and the last two humans right before, Noah's out there chilling. But
at the front of the Ark. Like on Titanic or Tangelo.
Yeah, well, the last
John Maddox.
Why? God, I thought it was all a role play. Anyway, if you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Like James says, why not all three? And hit that bell icon.
Do it all.
That's right, baby. Like my sexuality. Anyway.
Your sexuality is yes.
Generally speaking. Oh, hello over there at the bar. What's their gender? I'll find out later. Anyway. Premieres are live streams. Do you want to know how to get reminders and be right here with the party?
Your 5G chip. First of all,
5G chip. Then hit that bell icon. That's what gets you reminders. Woohoo! We are a skeptic channel, including the three schmucks you see before you. Hello.
Hey, guys.
Though, after we give our little opening spiels and we have a little bit of discussion, we will be opening up the floodgates, so you can dun.
Yeah, we'll do it anyway.
Oh no! Hey, okay, we'll do it live. Nonetheless, you can tell us what you thought about the debate, the subject, or how you feel about tacos. I know, Gizmo. So daring yet so true.
So provocative. So thought-provoking.
Yeah. Very introspective cat.
Gizmo is the talent of this show. We all admit it. Gizmo is absolutely.
He's the brains behind.
He's the brains. Exactly.
Yeah.
These are just the meat puppets. Puppets. Anyway, we'll let everyone have their, relatively speaking, briefly, opening, closing, whatever you want statements. Come one, come all. Just on the sheets. Really? Every day gotta do.
It was
the
Big
sheets.
Screen Bird. It was Bird.
Bird.
The vegan bald eagle.
Oh, that's right. He had to go vegan since the fall, or
getting
washed away, or both.
Yeah. sitting there eating hay with his poor beak.
Were they vegetarian on the Ark?
Yes.
Or was that post-Ark?
Apparently so.
That's post-Ark. Okay.
On the Ark, they were vegetarian.
So it wasn't the fall that did it. They were like the fall happened, and they were still
nobody could eat meat until after the Ark, after the flood. Yeah. Everything was vegan.
All animals were vegetarian before.
Does it say that in the Bible, or is that just retcon?
It says that the lions and tigers ate hay, but that's about all. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
it specifically
I wish luck to them.
After the flood, they could eat meat, so we're assuming that they were all vegetarian before that.
Got you. You know, it was the internal turmoil of watching God just kill everybody that they're like, oh shit, maybe we need to stop. We need to live a little. Maybe we need to eat meat. I don't know.
Maybe they're like, killing things is all right because God's doing it.
They're like, you know what? God's doing it. Exactly.
Oh, get on board. And I mean that.
That tiger is just looking at that sheep, and it's like, damn, I've been missing out on lunch this whole time. I've been eating this fucking hay.
If we're gonna die, if he's just gonna kill us, we might as well go around and get us some, right?
Have some lamb chops.
Exactly. Eat some lamb chop. Oh, but you can also. You can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make even more fun content, including awesome Patreons like, I think Thor Love and Thunder is up next. There's a new Thor movie in the works, baby.
Probably always one in the works.
Hey, oh man, if it's up to Kevin Feige, he will find.
Isn't it Lady Thor?
Do it forever.
Is it Lady Thor coming up?
It will probably be something. They'll probably team up or pass it down or something. It is going to be Natalie Portman is going to be, spoilers, the new Thor. At least that's the word around town. But hey, she's a tough chica. She can earn it. All right. But also, we love things that are round. But we also love things that are tangy. What a tall glass. Oz from the Atheist Roundtable and Tang, baby. Tang gang, yo.
Tang
but
gang.
Also, are you looking to have better conversations? Are you looking to have a better experience in the debate community? And are you looking to have better conversations with non-believers and those allies of them? Well, then come on to the Better event this October. It's almost there, baby. Check it out, Tart.live. And all right, moving right along.
Amy will be coming.
Oh, baby, I am. I've decided they got a whole bunch of awesome sets of tickets. They got that high tier, baby. Get those awesome. Get your drink on. Have a good time while you're having better conversations. Anyway, Ian Davenport. Woo! Send in love, Ian. This reminds me of Free Guy now. Good. I love Ryan Reynolds. I will say, just like Jason Momoa remade Aquaman, I think if it wasn't for Ryan Reynolds, I think Deadpool is actually role playing as Ryan Reynolds. That's my conspiracy.
Mint Mobile, baby.
That's right. He has
see 5 times a day.
Hey, we all got. Yeah, well, I will say his channel, because I am subscribed to his channel. He does that, and then he did a promo with Korg, and he said how surprised he was that Marvel was like, "You're gonna let me use Korg?" Woo!
He also has his own brand of gin. He made it's called Aviation American Gin. It's not bad if you're a gin drinker. It's a little different than most of what comes out of Europe, but still good.
That sentence could have gone anywhere. Much of what comes out of Europe. Exactly. All right. Sending love to Ian. Praise the Jesus. Or whatever God, I guess, because there's could be thousands. I always love the aliens question, like if there was an alien, would you go right up to and preach the good gospel and going right there? Actually, I wonder if there are those that are like, the aliens are going to burn. I don't know. I think they'd try and preach.
They would need Jesus too, I guess.
Does an alien have a soul? Is a question.
I don't
know.
The
Vatican already said yes, but
really, yeah. But the Vatican also said that we atheists can get into heaven, which made a lot of Christians really mad.
They're the super liberal Vatican now. Anything goes after that.
Yeah, it's the PR Vatican at the moment. So
yes,
well, as long as HR took over.
Yeah, well, I mean, after the last sort of, few molestations, they had to do something. So, yes, it is now PR in charge, HR in charge, Vatican, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Bill Burr's my favorite joke. They were passing them around like the whales at SeaWorld after one got bitten. We'll just send him upstate. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
SeaWorld in the Vatican. Curiously similar strategies, yeah.
Well, I like both strategies. The progressive way really ignores almost all of the text, but they're much more friendlier with all of the science and with the secular communities than the fundamentalists. Well, I mean, it is what the book says, and they're following it to a T, and yet somehow it kind of makes a lot of people come off like assholes. Funny how that works.
Yep.
But you know who isn't an asshole? He just sits there and makes us go.
Far, Amy?
Oh, I send so much love to a grumpy old.
She's got the X-rated version of that pillow.
The X-rated version, baby. Yeah. I can't help me. I slowly, as the time goes on, I become Carrot Top. At a full moon, it just gets worse and worse. Anyway, thank you so much, Grumpy, and also sending love to more. We need so much more friggin' skeptic women out there in the community. Woohoo! We're sending love. Diana.
Hey, Diana.
3 princesses in one.
Bring them on. We need more.
Bring them on. I love guys. I mean, baby, do I. Baby. But we need more girls. Bring on girl power. After we read the Bible, you can see how much they show their love for women, too, at least if they get in their place, if you know what I mean. Anyway.
He beats me because he loves me.
I know. Well, that's really the whole montage between a lot of the God experience.
He chaseth whom he loveth. If he didn't love you, he wouldn't punish you.
You understand why you need to fear him? You gotta fear him because he loves me. Right. No, cool. Okay, we're gonna take you away in a blanket now. Anyway,
back to the padded
sending
room,
love to. He came. That's what she said. Across the pond. He went across the pond, and now he's back.
Back.
Pat Lowinger.
Hey, Pat.
And we are currently in pre-production of Talk Skeptic to Me, episode 3. Woohoo! And go check out our first 2.
Actually, the Skeptic Strikes Back is the second one.
Yeah.
It's Return of the Skeptic.
There you go.
That's it.
Return of the Skeptic, yeah.
How dare you mix up your
God
Wars
Strikes Back would be the second one.
It's hard to make the second sequel better. But in those rare instances, that's one of the ones. Everyone likes it. Gotta take it dark sometimes. Take it to your emo stage sometimes. Anyway, sending a love, Pat. But also, we are collecting all of the skeptics in one, and we're kind of just asking for empirical evidence. Would it really be too hard?
How could you get all the skeptics squeezed together into one little dot on a smaller than a period on a page and all the whales too. All the whales and all the skeptics in a one little dot. How would you do that?
Though I will say, James,
having my floating zoo makes perfect sense compared to that.
Already, it is a more believable claim than collecting 2 of every skeptic.
2 of every skeptic, yeah.
Gotta make a mate, baby. Gotta make a mate. It makes sense. Figure that out. Yeah. It makes sense. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Send in love, Dale.
Dale.
Also,
is that better, Leo? I wouldn't want to disappoint Leo specifically. Is that okay?
What's that?
My volume now? Is my volume better now? Have I got a better volume now?
You want Leo to go off?
Yeah. Oh no, I don't. I can't handle Leo being mad at me. That'd be horrible. Horrible. Well, hopefully he's satisfied. Just going to check if it's okay. Oh well, you know, I like to satisfy.
He says it's better. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Oh, she lost her props. Yeah.
Found my thick earth. Found my thick earth. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you were looking for a biblical definition of a flat earth, though the regular mainstream Christians are like, please don't associate. Look, it's round. It's round. Look at that thick.
It's round. Okay. And it's 6,000 years old. So
yeah. I know. James, Mark, please.
Yes. How could you ever get billions of fossils, Mark? How would you ever get that? You would need a global flood.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely would not.
You couldn't have an Earth that was billions of years old, right?
Yeah. I think also Kent body shamed the Earth, like he was saying, "Oh, it's very thick and big, and sort of like I'm compressing the air. It kept the same size."
There's water coming up. The water's got to be coming up from somewhere. Where's that water coming from, Amy? God left a hose on in the middle of the Earth, and it just leaks water up.
Yeah, that was that weird volcanic vent thing. I don't even know where that was going. Like,
and then the hot water came up and boiled all the fish, but the heat dissipated, so it only boiled the fish right around it, and then.
But yeah, that is my favorite thing. Is that they're like round. No, I mean, of course, but 6,000 now. Come on. So you're going to
6,000 is old, Amy. That's really old. Really old.
Excuse me. I have it. You're going to tell me no. Of course it's round. Of course it's round. Those people, those sect of Christians, they're almost always Christians. I'm pretty sure Flat Earth Aussie is kind of like spiritual, but not religious. Well, but a 6,000-year-old Earth. Now, come on, that is science. That's science right there.
It's math. You just take the dates in the Bible and you add them all up. And if science doesn't agree with it, who are you going to trust, God or science?
Ghostbusters.
I think that most flat earthers are Christian, though. Like fundamentally,
I found the majority of them.
Yeah. And Flat Earth Aussie, he's a weird one because while you say spiritual, he still sort of tends towards a Christian worldview. He's a
very metaphorical Christian. I would still say he's a Christian, but
really interesting.
Very, very metaphorical. Very almost.
But I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the skeptic. They all call themselves skeptic. I get this from all the flat earthers, the people who don't believe in evolution, all this stuff. They're skeptics of evolution, but I've never met one that hasn't been a theist. Like you were saying, I don't think there have been many that haven't been Christian in my experience. Yeah, I have met I believe a Muslim flat earther. I don't know where they even get that. But
they usually don't bring it up right away, like you say. Usually, you have to kind of dig and prod to get to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Alex Stein, he won't lead with the Bible, but
I don't think Alex Stein believes half of what he says, to be honest with you. I think that he is a genius doing a parody skit that nobody else is in on. I honestly don't.
Turn the frogs gay. He's one of the
frogs. Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much, love Dave Gar, and we are leading to the Scott, just two left, the lead hyena of the pack. Ha-da-da, ha-da-da-da-da, ha-da-da-da-da.
Carnivora.
Carnivora, which is a hierarchy above where all these other species who cannot interbreed with other species. They're not a kind, they are a species.
It's order carnivora.
Exactly. And they're amazing. I love the entire order.
Witzik everyone is seriously out there.
Woohoo! Oh, Witzik gets it?
Yeah,
he's funny.
Yes.
He's another flat
mainstream Christian. He's a uber mainstream Christian. Oh, yeah. He's always doing videos about the Antichrist and the end times.
You defend, I find most flat earthers, they're not here to argue religion with atheists. They argue science. You will find that almost all the flat earthers, like the conversation is so technical because they're just using technical language, and then there are the experts that are actually there having a conversation with their actual expertise. There's no way else around saying that. And
John Maddox trying to talk to a geneticist.
It sounds very fancy, but really it's that these people have learned enough jargon just to try and keep up with the conversation so they can make it look like they're equals. The whole goal is to make, because if they can make it look like they're equals, then it is equal, and then you should teach the controversy and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I don't think that some flat earthers are using the right language, though. I mean, it's so far off base. I don't think... I get what you're saying, but some of them, like especially some of the more out there British ones, their whole argument is look around you.
Look at the trees, Mark. Come on.
I say that. Look at the trees. Look at the trees.
Look around you. Everything looks flat, Mark.
Yeah, it actually does.
Water always finds its level. You never see water curve, Mark.
Yeah, and that's the kind of rhetoric that you do expect from. So some of them aren't even using technical language. They're just saying, "Hey, common sense," which, if you know anything about common sense, it's not very common, and sometimes it's not very sensical. So,
Mark, we're just asking questions. Come on, what's wrong with asking questions?
I know. How dare you?
Water never curves except when it does.
How dare you just not believe me? It says in my book. It says in my book. How dare you not believe me? How dare you ask questions?
Yeah, you're probably going to go to hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And all right, last but not least, Regos. Our Thespian Skull, which you can watch in our Skeptic Bible study as we let's say lightly roast the Bible.
One of the fossils dug up from the flood of one of the millions of people that God had to kill for reasons. Yeah.
Oh, wow, look at that. This guy drowned from, like James said, reasons. But yes, thank you, Regos.
Said so.
God said so. Thank you, Regos. Thank you to all our Patreons, our mods, and our viewers. You are who make this stream possible. And with that, we're going to go right down the line, ladies and gentlemen.
Do it, Amy.
We're having fun tonight.
Whip it out. No, not that.
Whip it out.
Not that.
Oh, my. That cost extra, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark. Fact or fiction? Your Honor, I'm going to plead fiction. That's because the story of Noah's Ark is a flood mythology. One of many flood mythologies from around the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. However, flood myths occur in almost every area that, to no one's surprise, has floods. Landlocked countries have their own lore instead. We also rarely go into flood logistics. Let's start with a 600-year-old man. This claim is so remarkable. Creationists had to create an entire bullshit word called genetic entropy to explain why grandma doesn't live half 1,000 years old anymore. So, a 600-year-old man built a massive ark. Though, of course, he had help from his family. Basically, the IKEA version of Doomsday. I also love the two of every animal part. As if one of every animal on Earth wasn't hard enough, we need to get two of every motherfucker and hope one of them isn't gay. Or else God's gonna nuke them like Sodom and Gomorrah. Then again, if there are gay animals, that kind of goes against God doesn't make gays thing. Anyway, so now we have two of every animal on a single boat, which I'm sure smells fantastic. What in the world do we feed these animals? I don't know about you, but half of these animals eat the other half. You gonna feed the lions birdseed? Maybe convince them to think about a salad. Ain't no amount of dressing gonna make insectivora not eat insects. All right, let's put the meal plans aside. So now we have to survive the 40 days and 40 nights of rainwater from this dick of a god. And can we take for a second to appreciate how evil this god would be if Noah's flood was actually true? This means that this deity sent everyone to death in one of the most horrible, excruciatingly painful deaths possible, with every last conscious creature struggling to take their last breaths as their lungs fill with water. And remember, that's supposed to be the good guy. In fact, let's play my new favorite game from the fantastic Pine Creek. What's called Poof or Drown. Let's pretend God is about to do Noah's Flood 2.0. He comes towards you and gives you two options to destroy all of mankind. In one hand, you could drown the entire planet with water, what we'll call the classic model. Or you could poof everyone out of existence. Everyone's still dead, though none of that pesky drowning. Which would you choose? Dun 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 Dun, 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 dun. All right. Please put your answers in the jar. Now, if you chose drowning everyone on Earth, you may have biblical morality. However, if you picked poof, then we must admit we're more moral than this God. Since this was clearly an option, even back then, yet God chose one of the more cruel ways to kill people. The one where everyone screams with their arms hoping for mercy. And no one comes. Not kinky, bro. Doesn't sound like a party to me at all. Seems more like the latest sequel to a Saw movie. So now everyone's dead. The rain has gone away. To make sure there is land, we send Prince out in a When Doves Cry outfit. And then we get busy making sure all Noah's family and all the animals start sleeping with each other. Gets real Games of Thronesy for a little while. Then blam! Just like that, every animal on Earth is where they belong. Except fuck the unicorns. They didn't make it to the boat on time. Well, does this sound like a reasonable story to anyone? If you're saying, Amy, this is a metaphorical story about washing away the old and in with the new from a band of people who didn't know germs existed, but wanted to tell a story as a nomadic group of people, great. If you want to tell me this is ancient history, which literally took place from a God that literally washed away the earth, except for a couple of his chosen people, then I'm going to need a remarkable amount of evidence. So, Noah's flood, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction? Well, if there's only 2 sections in this hypothetical bookstore, it would belong in the fiction section. Thank you. Woohoo! And all right, I'm going to hand it over to James, and then we're going to pass it over to Mark, who is our special guest hosting with us tonight. So pumped.
Let Mark go, and then I'll go after Mark.
Absolutely.
That's what, all right.
Well, yeah. I just want to announce the inspiration of tonight's topic in general is Mark. Mark just had a debate tonight on this topic, and I get the feeling he may have a lot to say about the subject. So the floor is all yours, Mark.
Oh, thank you. I just want to thank you so much for hosting this after show. It's fantastic. Thank you to James and Amy. They are wonderful people, and I love you both. Thanks to the audience for coming by. We're going to have a good time. We're going to discuss some stuff. We're going to make some very ribald jokes and some masses of innuendo and stuff, which is always fun. Look, this debate, I really hope that I get onto Whack an Atheist, because I really want to, be one of the select golden few to be whacked by Hovind. That came out wrong.
Woohoo!
No, this was a great bet. You know what? I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of really awkward questions, which I do love asking awkward questions and seeing sort of that the cogs ticking in people's minds. I do like to make people think. Not that I have any, delusions that Kent's suddenly going to really start thinking about these strange things about the Ark. Look, I think the Ark is it's like any mythology out there. Like, you can sort of make comparisons, and I'm sure Pat's going to come on and absolutely berate me for making comparisons, so I'll prepare myself for that. But things like and what was going through my mind when I was prepping for the debate is things like the tasks of Hercules and things like that. Things where you have a story about somebody doing something, but the scope of it's just been broadened, and they're capable of cleaning out a stable of 10,000 horses or diverting a river and all of this kind of stuff. To me, that's probably where the Ark came from. Just somebody did something very, very extraordinary, but not as fantastical, and it just got blown out of proportion. And I think I mentioned that in my closing, that it's so much more likely than this problem-riddled story which makes no sense. And as I mentioned, not even most Christians believe that this story actually happened the way in the Bible. Only the most dedicated literalists actually think this happened the way it happened in the Bible, because there is so much wrong with it. And Carol A. Hall, who I mentioned was a geologist of over 40 years. She does stuff for Christian apologetics, so she is a Christian apologist. But, if you're a geologist of 40 years, you don't believe that the Noah's Ark story is actually true as described in the Bible. You can't. A worldwide flood, there just is no evidence whatsoever for it, contrary to what Kent says. But I had a blast night. I really appreciate everybody coming out and discussing this, and I'd love to hear your side of the debate, especially if you're a theist. I'd love to hear whether you disagree with me. I'd love to hear that, and maybe pose you a few questions or pose me a few questions. And I'd really like some feedback on how I did or places I can improve. I think that as sort of my fourth debate or something, I know that I have a lot of polishing to do in my debate style. So I'd love to get feedback, and I really look forward to talking to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so very much, Mark. And I think you did awesome. We'll see if we can get some
really
feedback from those in chat.
Thank you.
And before I take you off, I think Will is saying hi. He's saying,
got the raging atheist.
What do you think, Mark? Did you whack a Kent tonight?
Did I don't know. I don't think so. He's you know what? His rhetoric is very good, and I was mentioning this to Amy and James. Like, whatever else you think of Kent Hovind, and I don't have an especially high opinion of the man, but there is nothing wrong with his rhetoric, oratory, or debate skills. Nothing wrong at all. So I think I did my best. I'll leave it for others to decide how well I did. I honestly don't know. I just presented the best case I could, and I know I did my best. So I take satisfaction from that.
You did well. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Also a good song.
Definitely.
Anyway, thank you so very much, Mark. Woohoo! And if you want to tell us how Mark did, we're going to be opening the mic after we let James have his opener, and we talk maybe for a minute or two.
Kent Hovind,
what are you saying?
For Ralph out there. Ralph's out there asking who the debate was with.
It was, I will have to say, Mark, how does it feel to be in the big leagues?
Oh, yeah, we're familiar with that rage, but I don't think that's Mark's style to kind of hit him below the belt with that stuff.
Look,
What is up, Ragin? Yeah, that's our job.
Okay, just to sort it out, I was aware of the the arrest or whatever that happened. I don't know what's happened. I'm going to leave that up to the legal department. But it is very. I agreed to this debate ages ago, by the way. So almost more than a month ago. So this was locked in for me. I think that sort of I left it on because I had promised it to Standing for Truth, who, he's been fine to me. I know that some people do have a problem with him. I think that holding yourself to a standard of professionalism is really where you should go. And that includes hitting people with ad hominems and personal attacks in a debate. I don't think it's necessary. I think at that point you're actually weakening your own case, not strengthening it. So I think that's a dangerous road to go down. I don't know about the allegations. I haven't read much into it. I haven't looked it up at all. I've been aware of it, but it's a matter for the legal system of his thing to sort it out. I probably wouldn't agree to another debate with him, knowing that going forward. But as I said, I agreed to this debate well before this happened, and I felt I had a professional obligation to make good on my side of the commitment that I made. But I understand your feelings on it. I really do.
Not that any of us think Kent is an upstanding guy or that he's anybody we look up to. But in my mind, there's a big difference between fraud and what he's currently accused of. Fraud's one thing; assault is completely another. I probably and plus the other side of it is, even though he has been to jail for fraud or structuring, which is a type of fraud, so I'm sort of splitting hairs, but he has served this time, and it shouldn't be held against him because, any person that has been incarcerated has served their time. You really have to give them, benefit of the doubt from that point onwards. But as I said, I probably wouldn't agree to another one if I going forward, having known that he has been arrested on charges. But I think it did weigh heavily on me, and I decided to uphold a sort of standard of professionalism that I had agreed to abate. Cancelling would have left Standing for Truth out in the lurch, and to be professional, I proceeded through with it. I wish I could get him to talk about us, Rage. So you're lucky he's talking about you. I wish we could get some Kenty attention.
Woo-hoo. I think Rage was just doing a stream earlier.
He was doing a stream.
I would say I was mostly good. I only put a single whale into the chat while we were going live, but it doesn't mean anything to them. No, so I put it on Discord, but I also put one towards the end of the debate.
In the chat?
Yeah, one of the times. I just couldn't help myself because the
whales would have been fine during the flood.
You're incorrigible. I must admit, beforehand, I was a little worried because, Big Screen Bird was really going at it. I was like, could you behave? Could you behave? Your guest.
Oh, my.
There he goes, Big Screen Bird.
I said one or two things, but they just weren't,
you're too nice.
Volatile enough. I was trying.
Way too nice.
Thank you.
You're just incapable of being mean. You're incapable.
I had Harry in there, but Harry didn't.
I did. I saw really Harry.
Him up too much. Harry was in there. Yeah.
Nice. Everyone likes a Harry.
Yeah.
Hey.
Harry penis. Smoking. You want to kick it over to me for?
Yo, that's right.
Sure, yeah.
She tried to. I saw you over there, Jen, cheering for Mark too. So there you go.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Jen.
And all right, I will say we will be answering questions, especially those aimed at Mark. You can tag me, James, or I. Make me help you. Make it easy for me to see by tagging me at Amy Newman, but we are going to hand it over. Oh, turn me on, baby. But we're handing over to James because, James, we're talking about Noah's flood and Noah's Ark. What do you think?
We are. Yeah. So, yeah, like everyone's saying before, like we talked about before the debate, Mark did a very good job in this debate. I think a lot of times he kind of took the words out of my mouth, like the responses that I was hoping he would get to, and he was hitting a lot of those. And like he pointed out, this is just a perfect illustration of what happens when you begin a question by assuming that the Bible is true and then working everything else backwards to try to make it fit however you can make it fit. Doesn't matter if it really makes sense or not. Doesn't even matter if it's true or not. It's just to make it fit the Bible, because if you've already accepted it's true, then hey, whatever you have to do to make it work, it's fine. And Kent pointed out, he kept pointing out that the flood stories that have popped up all over the world, if you watched our Talk Skeptic #1 with Pat Lowinger, we discussed several of these stories from all over, from various parts of the world, and which that's a good video on that if you're interested in that, about learning about flood myths and legends all over the world. It's funny though that the people who got off the ark, they brought these flood stories with them, but the first thing that they did when they got to relocated was they all started making up new religions. I mean, yeah, we'll remember that whole thing about the flood, but the God who did it, no, he got really pissed off because we were doing things he didn't like and maybe worshiping other gods. So maybe it's a good idea we don't do that again. Nope. First thing they did, start making up new gods and worshiping them. So is it more plausible that this is just a story that pops up here and there, particularly in areas that are prone to flooding, because it's something that humans have dealt with for all of time? Floods are catastrophic and they can cause lots of death and destruction. It's something that humans all over the world in all parts of time have faced. That's a much more plausible explanation. And see, I just have a few notes here. I won't bring them all. Yeah, Ken Ham, he built his fake ark in was it Tennessee, I think it is. And when he was first doing that, he actually thought about having real animals in there. But as Mark pointed out, you would need, even just to have 1,000 animals in there, you would need dozens, if not hundreds, of staff on hand to care for those animals. I mean, how would he be able to do that? Have even just a moderate amount of animals in there and then be able to claim with a straight face that 8 people did it several thousand years ago. And by the way, the father was 600. And that all makes sense because of genetic entropy and this and that, which, as Amy said, is complete and utter nonsense. Ken really doesn't like that, the concept of a singularity. He really doesn't get it, and he's incredulous about it. But all it really is infinite energy. That's it. It wasn't matter compressed together. It's just a point of infinite energy. That's all that the Big Bang Theory says. That's all that it is. Still a lot we don't know about it. There's still way more that we have to learn about it. But it is a more plausible scenario than a genie just poofing a universe into existence for no real reason at all. Oh, well, maybe he wanted to create lesser creatures to worship him. So got to have a universe to do that in. So there you go. Poof a universe, then I'll I'll start farting out animals one by one. And that's, of course, a much more logical hypothesis than something like evolution, which proposes gradual changes over thousands of years. We got into the whole thing about the vegetarian animals, and that's something that comes up that Kent is prolific for in his arguing for that all the animals on the ark were vegetarian. Mark really hit him. Oh, maybe they all took babies. Well, babies need milk. Well, maybe they also took milk-bearing animals to feed the milk, because the milk has to be it should be from the same species. And then, eggs. Well, because he's not trying to make it plausible or make sense. He's just trying to get an answer out there. Because it doesn't matter to him how it worked. It doesn't matter. It's in the Bible. Therefore, whatever. If it was magic, if God did everything magically, poof, maybe he took the ark and lifted it up into space for a year and then set it back down in the water. Whatever, it doesn't matter because we've already reached that conclusion from the beginning. And of course, God in his infinite wisdom, he knew what he was going to do beforehand. So he kind of had the fountains of the deep, whatever the hell that means. He had it like preloaded, like kind of like loading your gun beforehand, prepping for the big grand finale, the big hoo-ah genocide that he knew he was going to commit. So he just had this water in reserve down there because he knows, okay, yeah, I'm going to make people, they're going to piss me off. I'm about to drown millions of people. So I'm just going to have that ready for whenever that happens because, I'm God and I ordain things from the beginning. So I already know what's going to happen. In fact, maybe I'm even making it happen because I'm bored. What else am I going to do? I'm God. And that's one thing Ken always likes to point out. He's like, the scoffers don't want to, they don't want to believe in the flood because that means God has a right to judge his creation. Well, a right? I mean, he's God. He can do whatever he wants. It's not about having a right to do with things. If he wanted to poof and turn us all into dragons, right? He could do that, right? He's God. So yeah, he could do, we get it. He could do whatever he wants. If he wants to kill anybody who doesn't believe in him and do mean things to them forever after they die because he's upset that they didn't believe in him because he played hide and seek a little too good. Okay, he can do that. What are we going to do about it? He still hasn't given us any reason to believe he's real. He still hasn't given us any evidence to believe that he's real. All we get are vague myth-like stories, which are so similar to those from all other civilizations all over the world. You almost might reach the conclusion that maybe they're kind of the same. Maybe El Shaddai, El Elyon, whatever you want to call him, whatever name he's using, was also the name of a Canaanite god. You might almost think that they were one and the same, and that these stories have just been floating around since human civilization arose. And you might think that it's all the same. And I think that's by far the much more logical hypothesis. I think that is what makes the most sense. And these people are living in a surreal fantasy world. They are so disconnected from reality. It's almost it's very striking because none of what they say has any connection to the natural world. It's not connected to reality in any way. They're just making it up as they go along, and they don't care. You know why they don't care? Because death sucks. Death sucks. I don't want to die. I think most people don't want to die. We are kind of amenable to the idea of living forever and being happy, living together forever with all your friends and family, and just being happy forever. That sounds really good. Death sucks. So in a way, they're choosing the happy delusion over the cold reality. And the cold reality is all we know that we get is this time, as imperfect as it may be on this earth. That's it. That's all we can ever expect to get. You want to waste your life on a delusion serving the war god of the ancient Hebrews, that's up to you. But me and the skeptics, we want what we believe to actually be real, to be true. And even if it's not warm and fuzzy, even if it doesn't make you feel good, even if at times it kind of sucks, we still have to embrace it because that's reality. And we do the best that we can to get through it. And we do it with each other. So thank you guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. And all right. I just want to send some love out there to Rage. I see you're going through with that shit. My brother had the same thing. So I'm sending love out to you there. What planets floods on a planet over 70% covered in ocean? Humans need to live near fresh water. Eh?
Hey, we got Standing for Truth out there.
And I want to, and so yes, and that was the other thing that I wanted to say is that that we have stand-in for truth out there. This debate would not be possible if it was not for standing for truth. So I am going to send a shout out to my theist brother
He's always been polite to me. Like same with Mark. I can't say anything personally bad
I've
about
had
it.
really good experiences from Standing for Truth.
I think
he's been very, very cordial,
Very
very
cordial.
civil, very friendly. Yeah, absolutely. I respect him at least for his respect for me. I guess he always seems to respect my position.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, Standing for Truth. I do.
We could disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable.
Absolutely. No, that's great, James. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can have better conversations.
I mean, we're happy with Christians like Will, like Eddie.
Will's
there
great.
are Christians that we can have
Eddie's
good
fantastic.
conversations with. It doesn't all have to be. Well, I won't name any names, but we all know some of those Christians out there who represent the other side of that.
Well, and I will say, if you have a disagreement, we are about to open the open mic. So you can tell us, woohoo! You could tell us what you thought about the debate or your thought bubbles. Are we getting this whole Noah thing wrong? Come and tell us. I'm going to send the link in the chat.
Watch out. If you say bubbles 3 times, you'll appear in chat.
Is that what Jen told you?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what Bubbles told me. Bubbles has told me a lot of weird stuff.
That was the Ouija board. So if we put a Ouija board in between all 3 of us and we kind of put our fingers towards the middle of the screen, it'll just dance around.
And Bubbles will appear in chat and say something very strange.
Yeah. And then Smokey Saint will appear and do an exorcism on you. Because apparently he does that now. Apparently he's an exorcist.
So. I really worry about that. I'm just...
Use emojis to get the demons out?
He's picking up on Bob Larson's...
cutting into his gig, hey?
He's cutting into his gig there, yeah. Send the emojis. The devil hates them. He can't stand those emojis at the commander level. Because you have to be a member to send those really nasty emojis.
Oh, no.
And all right, the link is going into chat, whether you are on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube. And we'll have some people join us. And in the meantime, I guess, what is your summation for me, Mark? Do you feel good coming out of the debate? I
do. I think that I have that confidence that I did my best and I gave it the best go I could. Yeah, and I feel really satisfied with that. Regardless of whether anybody thinks I won or lost, I presented my side and I think I did it to the best of my ability. So I feel very, very, very happy at that.
We got a special guest out there, special viewer.
Oh, who's special?
What is
Dr. Josh?
I'll show you why that's special.
Yes, that is Dr. Josh, isn't it?
That is Dr. Josh. Digital Hammurabi. Hey, Dr. Josh.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I messed up any, Mesopotamian or Assyrian stuff. I do apologize.
Because we actually run a skeptic Bible study on this channel. And you know what goes fantastic with our skeptic Bible study? The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Volume 1 on sale. To be continued.
Sure to be bestseller. Get it while it lasts. I mean, do they have it on Kindle?
That's right, baby, like hotcakes.
Can you get it on
They
Kindle?
do. They in fact do.
There you go. Get it on Kindle when it sells out.
I can't help it. I'm a sucker for hard copies. That's what she said. But yes, that get your Kindle on, baby.
That the whales have a 15-foot what? What?
A 15-foot, and I think that means we're switching into open mic.
Was that tongue you're about to say?
We got big screen vegetarian now because apparently, vegetarian eagle.
And so we got a whole bunch of, oh my. I forget who said this, but when you eat chicken nuggets, the dinosaur chicken nuggets, you are eating dinosaurs shaped as dinosaurs. So it's kind of like
makes sense,
Inception. Right? Chicken Inception. But okay, we are about to open the open mic, and we got a lot of people, so we're gonna move.
Baby
each
dinosaurs on
person,
the ark. Never mind me.
5
Just
minutes
continue
if you're
going.
pushing. 5 minutes if you're pushing it, but 3 minutes is going to be the generally what we're looking for in open conversation, so we can have a good time and all be talking. We want to thank once again Mark Reid for being our special guest host tonight. But we are moving.
Titan had to ask.
What does volume 1 mean? That's right, baby. Which
Get
means
ready for
volume 2 coming
Yeah.
soon. That's what he or she said. Anyway,
The
we like to
doctor
be gender
is
neutral
in.
here. There's a pipe. I still couldn't do a pipe. Anyway, Big Screen Bird, Bubble, Jason, Everetto, Pat, and Rage. We got you, and we're moving into our open mic. Big Screen Bird, hope you were doing fun. You were definitely having some fun in that chat. I saw you.
He was active from before the chat. He was fired up.
That's right, baby. The topic itself or the debate, Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark, fact or fiction. What are your thoughts?
Definitely fiction. It's a cool story. Cool story, bro. Yeah, I was pretty fired up in the chat. It was definitely interesting chat. I've never been timed out 7 times before for saying nothing but the true things. I did not say anything false, whatever. It seemed like someone in the mod had a.
You haven't messed with Titan before.
Yeah, no, I don't mess with Titan.
He has been known to time Otangelo out on like 4 or 5 streams at the same time, simultaneously.
But only when it's not a role play.
Yep.
Yeah, but I thought it was a great debate. I thought Mark did really, really well. You definitely were more assertive than the last debate. It seemed like you were kind of challenging, which was better. And it just seemed like Kent, like he always does, he's making stuff up as he goes. It's so crazy to me. Like, I can't get over it. But that's all I got to say. Let's get on to the next one.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Bird. And hey, I thought, it was fun watching you.
It was fun.
Just in chat. And all right, we're going down the line. We are talking. Woo! What's up, Buzz? Tango in the house. We are talking from the Standing for Truth and Mark Reid inspired, along with Kent Hovind, baby, the inspired debate where we're talking Noah's Flood, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction. Oh, I'm interested now. Bubble, your 3-minute opener. It's all yours. What are your thoughts?
Hey, Bubble.
Hey, I think
Bubbles. Wow, you dropped your microphone, sir. What happened?
Every time.
Sorry, I'm not sure. It's because I have to adjust the level like manually.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Go ahead, mate. Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, I think Mark did well because all Ken is trying to do is trying to fit the flood into his narrative. Yeah, because I do believe like there might have been a flood, like this super mammoth flood, because you do see this across every like somebody said it before. You do see it across every culture of every continent. So I think there is some legitimacy to it, especially with the uniformity of the nature. But I think Mark was a better debater there.
Right.
Wow, we all agree with you. Good job.
Hey,
Bubbles.
Thank you, Bubble. That's the first time. First time for everything.
I have no
Hey,
rebuttal.
Jenna.
Good job.
BFA.
And all right, thank you so very much, Bubble. We're going to move right along till we get everyone in for open conversation. Jason, we are asking ourselves, Noah's Ark, Noah's Flood, fact or fiction, and we're also talking about the debate, having fun. What are your thoughts?
Hey, what's up, guys? Obviously, I thought Mark did a great job. I always enjoy listening to him in his discussions, debates with folks. But the Kent constantly comes with the same spiel that he always has. He puts up the video and puts up the screen while somebody's talking and flips through to try to like refute what they're saying with the million slides that he has. And he also like I feel like he just kind of he thinks he can just like kind of common sense come up with things that refute particular scientific positions that we know through scientific consensus and an extensive amount of work that are just not valid. So I won't run on with it because I'm sure we're going to get into the aspects of why, like scientifically, we can refute the global flood. But I thought Mark did a great job. It's always challenging when you're going up against Kent. Just given, one thing I would say, I like how he accused you of gish galloping when he himself was gish galloping.
Yeah. That's his own. That's his thing.
That's his thing. That's his modus operandi, which is he throws like 30 things at you. And then when you actually have the wherewithal to like note the things that he said and go after them, he's like, wait a second, you're gish galloping me. I'm like, come on. So anyways, great job, Mark. Thought it was really good. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to.
Thank you so very much,
go
Jason.
through all the science and say no. Kent, that's not how it works. I could give you the whole science lesson, but he's already moved on.
Well, I was trying to avoid that. That specifically and relying on common sense response because I'm not trying to convince Kent. Kent's not going to be convinced by anything. Right? Absolutely nothing. So it's really what his audience or the audience that is watching will understand. And they're going to understand common sense responses, not, hey, here's the science, because they just don't want to look at the science. It's too hard. So really my response was aimed at what will the audience understand and what will relate to them. So, I tried not to go into science that hard.
Yeah.
And okay, we got Amaretto, Pat, Rage, and Jen. Just want to show this while he tags it, and feel free to keep tagging me at Amy Newman if you want to see your question or comment shown on screen. The best apologetic available to Christians and other asserting Noah's flood as a historical event is to approach the topic as a regional event rather than a worldwide one.
Great point.
Liberal metaphor-based approach.
Yeah, exactly.
And all right, we're going right down the line. Amaretto, we're talking Noah's Ark, Noah's flood, representing.
She's got wine tonight.
I was going to say water of her own.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
She drank all the pumpkin beer. Sorry, guys.
That's in the fridge. It's in the fridge cooling down. So, so I didn't get a chance to see the debate, unfortunately, but I wouldn't expect any less of Mark to do a good job, especially against that, someone with as little credentials as Mr. Hovind. I think Pat definitely has a point. I think it's definitely highly unrealistic for the whole entire world that we know it to have undergone such a massive flood. A regional event seems a little bit more likely. Back then they didn't have the same sense of scale that we do today. We know now that the world is much more vast in the universe, and we know that there's a likelihood we might not be the only planet with life out there. Just from the fact that there's so much around us, and I think it's very unlikely that it did happen as a global event. Maybe, in the scale of a regional. I think, in general, I treat a lot of these old Bible myths, and I've said this before, just like Aesop's fables, it's like old wives' tales and stuff like that. So it's like not all theists believe in the things in the Bible literally. So, I just think it's silly. And I mean, I've dabbled a little bit in seeing Kent try and defend some of his positions before. And listen, I usually advocate for drugs, But there's some times when I feel like maybe we shouldn't advocate for drugs and we should listen, you want kids to not do drugs? Just send Kent to your local school. That will tell the kids well enough.
I think that would tell them to do drugs, but that's just me.
I mean, listen, you know what? Like, meth is bad. Don't do meth is bad. This is why. So,
but they had a myth lab on the Ark.
Exactly.
It was right next to the moon pool.
They had two.
You don't know about the moon pool.
So the question is, was Noah Walter?
Yes.
Noah was Jesse.
Oh my gosh.
And Oz
traditional
says,
Catholic.
Was Kent streaming from his local county jail?
Burn.
He might have been.
Woo-hoo. I mean, listen, I'm guessing
do they let the inmates wear Hawaiian shirts?
I mean, listen, at the very least, they might have given him an orange jumpsuit. I mean, that's kind of the closest thing to Hawaiian shirt.
Well, I wanted Mark. Kent would have left instantly, but it would have been so funny if he just showed up with like a Hawaiian t-shirt and like glasses.
We talked about this.
Like
the
holding
wig.
a cup of water. The wig, water.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Mark's like, he's like, I have too much class for these kind of shenanigans.
He's not going to troll Kent Hovind like that.
He should have shown up in a cop outfit. That would have been hilarious.
Oh,
that would have been awesome.
Oh my god,
that's terrible.
With what out?
A cop outfit.
A cop outfit. Oh my goddess.
That would have been amazing.
He said Amy show up with something out.
Kent, have you been a really bad boy today?
Yeah.
Amaretto versus Kent.
Oh my.
Oh, wow.
That would be epic. He would know what to make of Amaretto.
I don't know what to make of Amaretto.
I'm going to take that as
None
a
of us
compliment,
do.
you guys. I'll take that as a compliment.
No. We love our liberal theists here. We love all witches. I still have my basic witch shirt. I love it. It's like the Starbucks logo, but it says basic witch. I know I'm not a witch.
I don't care that it's
so
not
adorable.
September yet. It is. I am getting ready to bust out all the Halloween decor. I am ready.
Oh no!
It's
Halloween
year-round
season is
around
regular
there.
decoration season.
Well, I mean,
it's a fantastic time.
She dresses up all the time.
Yeah, it's like, Amy, just wait till we go apartment shopping. It's going to be great.
Woohoo! Night, Dave Gar, sending you love. And all right, we're sending love not only to Dave Gar, we're sending love to Pat, who I feel like might have a thing or two. Ooh, excuse me.
I mean, maybe he knows something about this.
I was going to say he might have a thing to say about this subject.
I hope I didn't disappoint Pat. No.
That sexy beast right there. What up, Pat?
Oh my!
I would love to see Pat take on Kent. I don't know what Kent would do.
That would be epic. That would be.
He would.
Hello, 911. I'd like to report a murder.
Oh wow!
Actually,
you're muted.
And so Pat, you were going to say actually, but I want to ask you, what are your thoughts just in general? We are talking flat myth. We're talking Noah, the flood, the Ark, and then we're asking about the debate on top of it. Any one of those will do, though. What's your thoughts?
Well,
you're on mute. Oh,
no, it just took a second.
Okay, yeah, he's good.
No. All right. No, I think Mark did a good job considering he's got a limited amount of ways to approach Hovind's arguments. Kent Hovind has a prepackaged apologetic. So to bring out as much scientific information as possible, literary evidence, anthropological evidence, is really, because you're not going to convince Kent Hovind of anything, but maybe there's a few people who want to hear a discussion. And so in that way, Mark did an excellent job. He was a fair debate partner, but he actually did much more for the presentation of a credible, factual, both scientific and anthropological approach to the argument, which I think is really the strength that you need to have in a debate like that, because you're not going to convince the other side as far as your opponent. Yeah, I have a lot to say on this topic. It's a topic that I looked at, and I've looked at
a lot.
A lot, right? I mean, it's not just something, and we looked at a part of this in an earlier episode with Amy's show, but again, I'm not going to branch outside the Mediterranean or ancient Near East. There are myths like this that are worldwide. And they're similar in some ways, and in some ways they're highly divergent. But that's really not for the conversation to have today about the divergent ones. But I will point out that, again, if you're going to take on an apologetic approach, make the best apologetic you can. And so for that reason, I would definitely try to stay more factual. We do know that the archaeology of the region of ancient Mesopotamia shows several flood events that were regional, largely catastrophic to limited geographies, but sometimes more than one geographical region at the same time. If you look at 3100 BCE, 2900 BCE, 2650 BCE, you can start getting some parallels that probably gave rise to this mythic tradition based on actual events. We talked about it in the previous episode, so I'm not going to hash it here. But if the Noah account was early, that would be great, but it's not. It's very late. You don't have it written down till the 6th, 5th century BCE. You have the Epic Gilgamesh predating it in a written form at least 500 years, if not 600-700 years earlier. You have the Epic of Atrahasis predating it by 1,000 years. So it's not new. I do want to know what someone like Mr. Hovind and those that defend the Noah flood myth do when they're confronted by the fact that the Epic of Gilgamesh, Tablet 11, actually is so similar, as far as giving dimensions of the ark or the boat and the commands given by God and what occurs, how they can't just say it's an archetype that was copied by ancient Hebrews. But with that, I'll go back to the chat, and I'm sorry if there's a delay on my voice. I'll try to fix that right now. Some people are saying in chat I have some problems with my video. But thanks for having me on, and Mark, you did a great job. And I'm glad we have a climatologist on, because this is the important thing. You can approach it from multiple avenues: geoscience, climatology, literary, and archaeological and historic analysis. I think that's what you really need to take this to analyze the topic in its fullness. Yeah. So that's it.
It fails on every level. Yep.
Pat, just a quick question. Were the dimensions in the Epic of Gilgamesh the same as the ones in the Bible, or were they different dimensions?
Well, I just happened to pull them up. I put a link in the chat, so if you guys want to read a translation of Tablet 11, Amy can put that out for everybody. And that's from the ancienttext.org. It's a library that has a lot of ancient translation in it. But the dimensions given are... Its walls were each 10 times 12 cubits in height. The sides of its top were of equal length, 10 times its cubits each. It was laid out its interior structure and drew a picture of it. It provided it with 6 decks, thus dividing it into 7 levels. The inside of it was divided into 9 compartments. I drove plugs. This is Unapishtim talking, so it's first person. Water in its middle part. I saw to the punting poles and laid what was necessary. 3 times 360 units of raw bitumen I poured into the bitumen kiln. 3 times 360 units of pitch put into it. There were 3 times 360 porters of cask who carried oil, vegetable oil, apart from the 3,600 units of oil which they consumed, and 2 times 3,600 units of oil which the boatmen stored away. And then talks more about I butchered oxen for meat, and the day and night I slaughtered sheep. I gave the workmen ale, beer, and wine as if it were river water. And I like, at least Unapishtim treated his workers well. But if you actually follow through, I mean, there's quite a bit of description about the boat being made and what went into the composition of the boat. It is different than the Noah account, but as far as the style, when you actually look at it as an archetype, it's very, very similar and has quite a bit of a
and how far back does it date?
Parallels that can't be ignored. Well, the Epic Gilgamesh is written down in the 13th or 14th century, so we know that it's floating around probably 18th century BCE, 12th, 13th century BCE. It gets written down in a written form. And remember, an interesting thing is that the Torah doesn't even have a tradition, an oral tradition till the 11th century BCE. They don't write it down till the 5th or 6th century BCE. So again, it's really late. The Epic Gilgamesh is written down, and we have actual copies of it. Right. So even before the ancient Hebrews are picking it up in an oral tradition, the ancient Mesopotamians have recorded it in a written form, and that written form is being disseminated throughout the region, where because they at times are controlling the region of ancient Israel as a kingdom of both Israel and Judah. So this isn't rocket science, man. I mean, I'm sure that if Jason wants to talk the rocket science of climatology, he can, but for the archaeology and the historian, this is actually pretty easy. It's kind of like checkers. It's checkers. It's not chess. So
it'd be fair to say that the boat in the Epic of Gilgamesh was actually a smaller than the Ark, because it's 10 times 12, which is 120, and the Ark is 300, I think. Right. So we've got like I said, a boat that gets bigger and bigger and bigger over the retelling, right?
Well, that's what it appears, in the Apollodorus mythology, it shrinks, right? That's the one I look at in ancient Greece, and I look at its parallel in Rome. But we don't really have like with Iridogenesis, and I can't remember if Atrahasis actually has a detailed scale. For some reason, I think it mentions some sizes, but they're conceptual. But I can't do it off the top of my head. Okay. Because I've studied the Epic Gilgamesh in much more detail, because that was projected into Anatolia, right, ancient Turkey. But I can talk about the Epic Gilgamesh quite a bit. But again, the parallels are very, very, very important for people to keep in mind. This is not, again, the Torah is at least 600 years after, as far as a written form. So if your neighbor has written it down 500 years before you, and then you all of a sudden, quote unquote, come up with it, you copied off your neighbor's homework. That's just the way it is. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. And this is something historians have known about for quite some time. It shouldn't be problematic unless you are a fundamentalist. I made a comment with Amy in the chat. If I was an apologist, if I was a believer and I was a Christian, I would take the regional limited flood. There was archaeological evidence. There's actually more than one set of evidence to show a regional flood in Mesopotamia. And to say that the wicked people of that region were wiped out, that actually gets you, it's actually a really effective apologetic. And I don't want to take any more time, but if I was a Christian, that's the apologetic I'd use. I go, look, he didn't wipe out everybody. He just wiped out evil people of a region. Again, it's still horrific, but it actually helps you create an argument that's much more limited, and God's not such a bastard. In this, if you are a fundamentalist, he's not only a bastard, he's a homicidal maniac who does the impossible with no archaeological evidence to support it. If you take a different apologetic, you can actually maybe come up with an argument that's more nuanced and is subject to some evidential basis. For it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not an uncommon position for Christians. That's the usual position, that it was a local flood, and a lot of it is just hyperbole and legends.
It is today, yeah.
It is today, yeah.
It is today, but absolutely. 75 to 100 years ago, that was unheard of, right?
Right.
That was the fringe, it was the fringe Christian position. All right, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Pat. And like I said, we are in pre-production for Talk Skeptic to Me, episode 3. Woo. So, woohoo! And with that, we're going to move on. We got 2 more, and then we're going into open conversation. But the Raging Atheist, what is up? We are having fun and asking ourselves, Noah's flood, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction? Hope you're doing well. What are your thoughts about the debate, the subject, tacos?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Hey, what's up, y'all? I actually didn't get to see the debate. I was streaming earlier. I didn't realize that I saw Standing for Truth was live, but I didn't realize it was Kent Hovind, or I would have been in there spanning him on the debate he never gave me. So for one thing, I have to say, Mark, you're super smart. I've seen you. I didn't see this debate tonight, but I have seen you in a few debates. You're super smart. I'm sure you did really great. When it comes to the flood, geologists disprove this like 1850s, 1860s, that the shape of the topography of the Earth could be shaped by a global flood. Not true. Certain topographies can be shaped by regional floods. And when you're speaking about a regional flood in that area, you're talking 20, 30,000 years at least before the Bible says so, right? So we're talking about mist that came from mist that came from mist that finally landed within Judaism and Christianity. So when it comes to Kent Hovind, I came into the side chat. I saw Amy was live, and I'm like, sweet, I get to finally come into an Amy Newman side chat and give Amy the love that she always gives me in my side chats. And I heard Kent Hovind, so I made a comment, and I was like, no, I'm totally joking. I would never expect Mark Reid to challenge Kent Hovind on his personal shit. I challenged Kent Hovind to that myself. So the history of me with Kent Hovind is Matt Powell went on Kent Hovind's channel, introduced Kent Hovind to me. Kent Hovind has been talking a lot of smack ever since. And Kent Hovind challenged me to a debate, and he said he would defeat me with one hand behind his back, and never specified what that debate was about. So I'm like, all right, dude, I'm not going to debate you on evolution. Let's debate you on your ties to the NIFB and your similar ideals, because I covered a stream where he was in jail for his tax fraud, and he was talking to Steven Anderson and agreed with everything that Steven Anderson said when it came to the genocide of gay people and adultery. Yeah, all of that. So I'm like, Kent, I will debate you on that. And Kent was like, of course, not going to do that. So I will debate Kent Hovind on anything but evolution. Anything. And I'm putting that out there. SFT, I know you're in the side chat. We talked about this before. Tell Kent Hovind we can have a debate on anything outside of his script when it comes to the theology of his Christian God. And I'm looking forward to it. But sadly, I don't think it will ever happen. And that's what I got to say. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you so very much, Rage. I would love to see that debate.
Thank you, Rage.
That would be an epic debate.
But you're right. He's probably he likes
won't do it.
his little wheelhouse, and if it's not in his little thing, then it's got to be about dinosaurs. It's got to be. Yeah.
Amy, I'm still waiting on you to do a flat Earth debate with him. That would be amazing.
Oh my God! Yes.
If Standing could set it up, that would be great.
If
a debate with Ken
Standing,
Hovind,
I will say that. Please, you need to make. I'm trying to think. What episode is it? The Power Rangers? I don't know. There's an analogy somewhere where all of the people have to come together. They were originally rivals, but now there's a common evil.
G.I. Joe and Cobra.
G.I. Joe. You need
two enemies have to fight together.
Amaretto, you're typing loud. Amaretto, it's real loud.
Only friends.
And speaking of, I will say, just because I heard that, OnlyFans reversed their butt around fast because they knew.
Well, let's wait and see if it actually holds, because I think they said like they're pausing it.
It'll hold, I promise you.
What I think happened,
they're losing tens of millions of dollars. They'll reverse.
Well, exactly. Here's what happened in my brain. They're like, all right, we need to bow to the bankers because we're not going to have a company unless we bow to the bankers. And then they're like, no porn. And then collectively, everyone was like, oh, you guys are shutting down. That's cool. Nice of you to do that.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like Jamie Dimon does not compare to Lena the Plug. I'm sorry. So,
I don't know who that is.
She's one of she's a top OnlyFans contributor. She actually did an interview with Philip DeFranco, who's like, he does like independent news on YouTube. So I've been kind of following the situation from Philip DeFranco's show, and it's just, I've been watching, keeping an eye, but it's this kind of thing, like it happens, like it's common. It's not the first time that, adult content has built up a platform and then it's been banned, and then a platform has gone to shit. Rest in peace, Tumblr. So,
and okay,
on
that
happy
note, what?
We got Jen backstage. We got
Jen.
We're waiting.
Jen.
Hey, I think speaking of Theus being on Team Mark, I'm pretty sure she was hanging out and going. How are you tonight, Jen? And
hey, Jen.
What are your thoughts? Noah's Ark, Noah's Flood.
Fact or fiction? Hey.
I was definitely in the chat simping for Mark as much as I could. It went down like the worst possible time. I was
we saw you there.
I put a comment before it started, and then it went down. I was like, no, because I just really wanted to be that spammer. But it seems like the squad managed to spam.
Oh, I spammed enough. We're good.
Yeah, Bird had it covered. He had all the emotion. You know what? I logged out of chat at the start because Maddox was just talking shit, just such shit. I was just like, I just couldn't be bothered listening.
What was the audience? Wasn't it like 280? I don't think you could follow.
Yeah, it got up to 300, I think, or close to
something. Wow.
Very cool.
But John Maddox he swings a wide load.
Oh wow.
I mean, it seemed like it's a very controversial topic. Anyways, I know I checked the Discord, everybody, in general discourse for the context there. But yeah.
Camera, honey.
Or rather, join our Discord. Link below in the description.
Smooth.
What do you think, Jen?
Put it better than I mean, just to contextually situate the debate, I really couldn't put it better than Pat. Almost an insult to all the work Pat's done, and I love that stream. Sorry, I forgot the name of your
Talk Skeptic. The Flood Myth.
I was pleasantly surprised by that, so I don't think I could top it. I'm not even going to try. I really liked what you said about operating within a narrow band of what this Kent guy would accept as a reasonable argument. I don't think I could have even done it because I would have been like, would have got flustered at one point. Like, how could you think that?
Yeah.
Whereas Mark seemed cordial and controlled, and compared to your past debates, I would say projecting your voice a little bit better. Your voice is always even, but you managed to keep it even while projecting it, which is really good. And I like the tempo. It was slightly, I don't want to say rambly, but there were some bits where it was hard to see what your personality as a debater was per se, because I think you're still kind of maybe trying out the different hats the way teenagers do when they're trying to figure out like who they are type thing. There's a process, I think, of sort of deciding who you are as a debater is like, what are you actually trying to accomplish for yourself, for the audience? Mm-hmm. Like these are all questions you kind of have to go into to answer things like, what kind of personality do you want to cultivate? Like, are you introvert, extrovert? Do you want to have a persona, or just like purely on the level of a technical debate, which there's limitations to how entertaining that is, as we've seen. It seems to be the shit shows that get the big audiences with the absolutely crazy assertions on both sides. Anyway, eccentricities can set you apart as a debater, but you don't want to be someone who's known as an eccentric. Unless you're me, in which case it's pretty much inevitable. Again, I think I said the thing about strategy. Know your limits of expertise. And this is something that Mark is really good at. And a lot of people, not so much the people who hang around these streams, I find there's more humility around here, but modern day debate, there is a more, when you go into that audience, more of a tendency to like overstate expertise by a ridiculous, somebody's tapping on their keyboard if they don't mind muting. There's a ridiculous amount of overstating one's expertise. And when I worked for the police, we had to go to testify in court. One of the main things that they would teach us in that expertise, like qualifier things, is do not overstate your expertise. Yeah. Never. If anything, you want to be understating it, because I'm not saying that debates should be coming up to a legal standard necessarily, but actually in a way debates should be a higher standard than legal standards, because those are in a lot of ways lower than what you'd want for a good debate. So principles for debating hours. Sorry, you have a tender heart, Mark. This is a great quality, and it can be a weakness. So just generally, I would say to figure out if it is being a weakness in the debating, figure out why and how, and hopefully move past it. Let me think here. There are several different styles of debating, and being good at debating or conversing within a debate and being good at debating is about knowing when to go from one to the other. So think of different vibes of conversation: breakdance, fighting, capoeira, tango, judo, slap chop, shake weight. So these are all modes of conversation. Sometimes you want to have them, sometimes you don't want to shake.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Okay, sorry. You know what I mean by that in there.
Could I get a demonstration of shake weight
conversation, right?
Oh,
wow. I'm just saying that that's not meant to be an exhaustive list. It's just that there's strategies to all these modes of talking. It's a question of where are they going to be applied, and increasing your range gradually as a debater, and also using it as a medium to like get in touch with your true self type thing. So thanks. I'll be listening in and hopefully can participate later. But if there's people, are there like extra people that can fit? Because I can hop off for a bit and maybe hop
I don't
on.
think
this
so.
is
Not right now.
our deck tonight. We are
Okay.
going.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Jen.
the
Oh yeah,
feedback.
And
Honestly.
of course, thanks as always,
it's
Amy.
way
Thanks for
past my
hosting.
bedtime. I won't be here long.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on. Did you bring your double helix maracas, Jen?
Oh, they're always here with me. They're my good luck
Oh,
charms.
well,
I never know
there
when
you
I'm
go.
going to need them.
You never know, right?
Well, I do totally agree with like overstating your credentials. Every debate I've had, I try to really express my credentials, which is none, right?
Yep.
Like you know, like
Yep.
you don't want to lead the audience because honestly, you're not debating the person you're debating. You're trying to reach the audience.
Yeah.
You don't want to lead the audience into a lie about yourself. And so I wholeheartedly agree with your sentiments on that, Jen. I think that watching modern day debate, I do see a lot of people really pushing their credentials. If you've got credentials, push them. I love Dr. Josh. He's one of my best friends. I love that man. He's got credentials. Please push them. You're doing a lot of great work. But if you don't have those credentials, be honest and be yourself. I totally hear you on that.
Don't be a
Well,
John.
if you notice, Dr. Hovind doesn't insist
not
on
a
the doctor anymore. Yeah, I know that's my whole point. But he
And
doesn't.
I got banned 4 times for saying that. I got timed out for saying that 4 times. By the way,
it's the truth.
He didn't get his degree from Evil Medical School.
Yeah. Evil.
Have you seen
medical
a school, Amarillo? Have you seen Patriot Bible College?
Oh my
it's
goodness.
now a detriment. Like, he doesn't do it because it makes him look like an ass, and he's finally realized it does make him look like an ass when he says, "Hey, I'm a doctor." Well, do you have an accreditation? No.
Yeah.
It really does make him look like an idiot. I noticed he still had it plastered beside him and stuff, which is funny.
Doctor.
I mean, listen, I could go I can go into Photoshop right now and make myself my own fake diploma and just like.
I mean,
I could go take over
website.
Christian Theist YouTube.
Yo, his doctorate from that
right?
website is totally legitimate. I mean, that website is totally legitimate.
Have you read his thesis?
Doesn't his thesis start off with saying, "My name is Kent Hovind"?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
What dissertation starts off like that?
It's online. You can find it readily available.
A dissertation given by Eminem.
Yeah, that hits me deep. you know, like the thing about Kent Hovind is he performs a tried and true method that was generated in. I mean, this whole YEC thing is rather new. It started in the 50s and 60s, and it started with a certain book. I can't remember the name of it, but Kent Hovind regurgitates that nonstop. You know, and SFT, you're in the chat. I love you, but you do the same damn thing, dude.
There was a guy named Dwayne Gish.
Damn.
He's who they started the Gish Gallop from. He used to do. Kent is like his acolyte almost. Like, they're very similar in their styles. Dwayne Gish. He's been dead for a while now, but yeah.
I think you brought up something from a book from Gish. I think he mentioned something briefly in the debate about Gish, and I'm like, well, it's obvious where you're, mirroring Gish's style. Yeah. It's just hilarious that he Gish gallops, and I managed.
And then he accuses you of it. Yeah.
Well, I managed to keep up with him because I take very, very. My background is actually in call center work and things like that, where I started off, going into the internet technical support. So I was taught very early on to make detailed notes about what's happening. So I'm constantly making notes, and I had trouble keeping up with him. But then for him to complain, oh, we've gone over, 50 things and, it's hard to keep up. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. It really is, isn't it? I was having trouble. But, as I said to him, I'm in exactly the same boat. I don't see why you're complaining.
You said, we'll make sure you have time to raise everything you want to raise, Kent. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think he's slowing down a bit. I think he's having trouble keeping up with what's said. I noticed there were a few things that I brought up that he just didn't address, just didn't get to. And not to say that he didn't have an answer, but, whether he can keep up or not is another story. I think he is actually slowing down a lot. I don't know.
He's becoming the dinosaur.
Mm.
I mean, considering his certain modern
Sorry, Reid, you cut out a bit.
It cut out.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally hit the mute button. I'm just saying, like, considering his like circumstances right now, he probably has a bit on his mind.
I would imagine so.
That's true.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Like just like how he'll look in the color orange.
Oh my.
Oh, he's very familiar with that amaretto.
That's right.
He's used to that.
I mean,
He's
are you
used to
sure?
being
Are
a
you
sovereign
sure?
citizen.
Are you
and
sure?
taking-
Because I mean, listen, there's also gray and white. Like orange isn't the only prison uniform that they use.
He complains how they moved him around from prison to prison in the federal system, but that's because he kept annoying the other inmates with his sovereign citizen nonsense that he was always preaching. They moved him around for his own good.
Oh God. Soft citizens are like their own breed of like what even like for a little bit of context, like the furry fandom has dealt with sovereign citizens, and that's actually like it's been a big thing. Apparently, like a couple of sovereign citizens ran a convention into the ground out west. And it was just, this was a few years ago, but just the general fact, like, these people can be anywhere. And they are legitimately, like, you see some of the things that they write and draft up, and it's just like, you have no... This is like your Wikipedia, like how to do lawyer, how to be, how do I law, you know?
They also have the audacity to not want to give a cent after they're selling the invisible product, which is tax-free, completely tax-free, and they're going to still try and not give a dime.
Whoa. Well, I mean,
if Kent doesn't want to pay his taxes, I want Kent to go ahead and buy a blacktop paver and, you know, go make some roads, you know, go make his own roads, you know, his own infrastructure.
Some of the guys in jail, they just want to do their time and they don't want any of that nonsense. But Kent Hovind with his sovereign citizen rhetoric, just spouting that all day long, it would actually piss people off. They had to move him around for his own good.
I mean, listen, you can't have this in prison. So, I mean, you know, I fully understand with no drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, trying to
being exposed to Kent, dealing with Kent. So, listen.
As much as we want to make it about Kent Hovind, it's about a whole mechanism, right, within evangelical and conservative Christianity, right, to push this narrative, right? So, like, when I was preparing for my my review and talking about flood mythologies, I pulled a couple pieces of literature, and I don't really want to call them literature. I pulled a couple pieces of fiction and mythical thinking. But one was Wyatt's book. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's the gentleman who says Ron Wyatt discovered.
Yeah, Hovind brings him up all the time.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy's been fully debunked. But he sells thousands of copies of his book every year, right? I think it's called Noah's Ark Discovered or Discovered Noah's Ark or something like that.
See,
so I actually read portions of that book because people had pointed out the problems with the book. And I'll be honest, I read about a third of what I planned on reading. And I started giggling and laughing. And then I got really pissed off. And so I put it down because it just made me angry that this was being presented as historical, factual, archaeological, and scientific evidence when it wasn't. And then
fraud.
There's a whole genre of literature that just really drives me nuts. Like
and
unearthing the Bible, the chronological guide of the Bible, all this crazy stuff that, you know, you look at and it just...
But anyone can publish a book. You know, anyone can publish a book. It doesn't take a great mind to publish a book.
Yeah.
It's just a book. And that's why generally, you know, citations from books aren't that reliable because anyone can publish literally anything in a book.
Yeah.
Well,
now,
sadly,
if that book has multiple citations and stuff like that as well, you know, that's the thing. You build a chain of evidence on how you come to, you know.
I mean, sadly, here in America, we're mostly stupid people. And like if you look at the latest statistics, like nearly half of the country believes in this YEC bullshit. They have done their job well. Like, you know, Donald Trump proved it better than anybody in the history of the world. If you just say a thing over and over again, people believe
marketing.
it.
If you give the people what they want to hear.
Exactly.
See, this is the theory why some people say Mark McCain lost to President Obama was because he actually stood up against the Obama birther bullshit.
Yeah.
Like there are actual like things like, you know, saying like Obama, like this elderly white woman at a town hall was trying to say she didn't trust Obama because he was a Muslim and stuff, and
she says,
you know,
no,
McCain.
That's not true.
Is that like John McCain or
John McCain? Yeah,
John McCain when he was running for.
Oh, you said
like,
Mark
president.
McCain. Okay.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Being honest cost him the presidency for real. It did. Yeah,
that's horrible. But are you serious that half the people believe in young Earth creation?
Yeah, last statistics I read was 48% of America.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, here's the thing we have to keep. Here's the thing too. You also have to keep in mind when you're talking about studies, your sample size, where your sample is done, the population that you're taking your sample from. Like, I would actually want to see that study before I say yes, half the country. I think it's probably more like 30 to 40%.
80%.
No. I think it's 30 to 40%. Because here's another statistic that we generally know is that there are more people who are identifying as spiritual, agnostic, or atheist than straight up like religious. Now, if you go to the South, though, and you take your sample from the South, you're going to have a more skewed.
You could do representative sampling.
It's spreading into the North, though. Like, I live in Michigan. And I'm telling you, Michigan now.
I mean, no, listen.
It's as fundamental as North Carolina was when I lived there. You know, like it's cray.
I mean, it's only. I mean, goodness gracious! I mean, you had people plot to kidnap your governor, and unfortunately, one of them was from my home state. Lives maybe 20 miles away from me.
Yeah, talk about sovereign citizens; they're everywhere here.
Well, here's the thing: like some states, like Michigan, are prime for that because of just the general culture. You know, Michigan is not as much of like a urban socialite place. It's not coastal. So you'll still have like, you know, in the cities in general across the country, more progressive thought. But if you have a lot of people that live in your, you know, central and southern rural states, you know, in these larger areas as well of rural countryside, like, I mean, they're going to be loud and proud. I mean, Pennsylvania, we have like, and I say we because I spend so much time up there. There's central PA is called Pennsyltucky for a reason. You see Confederate flags from people who never lived in the South. It's disgusting.
Man, I've had that conversation more times than I even want to dream of. Is like you know, like we're Michigan, where we rejected the South, and yet I see rebel flags everywhere, and they're like Southern heritage, and I'm like, do you know what Southern heritage is? You know,
we're not even from the South.
So stupid.
How South do you think you are?
I mean, I seem to remember the study that you're talking about. Around 50% are believe in young Earth creationism, and that there's like a very high percentage are acknowledged are religious. I think those are representative samples. I mean, I think that they do a pretty good job of looking at like what the error bars on those, and they try to take a representative sample across differing ethnicities and economic backgrounds and different states. And the only other thing I would add is you guys are talking about a really interesting topic that I'm fascinated in, and I've mentioned it here before, is this aspect of cognitive dissonance of like, why do people believe what they believe? Like, why do people believe in young Earth creationism? Why do they believe in flat eartherism? Why do they believe that vaccines aren't good to take? Why do they not believe in accept the preponderance of evidence of climate change? Like, why are those things happening, and are they happening more frequently in the last like 15 to 20 years? And I think it's a fascinating topic around like tribalism, the advent of social media, the ability of people to kind of cluster in a group. Like, as an example, folks that are young earther or young earth creationism can surround themselves on the internet with only other people that validate their own opinions. They never get any other contrary opinions.
And
go ahead.
You live in a bubble.
And that's dangerous. It's and you know, this is the thing. And there's, you know, what's his name? Most Epic in the chat earlier wants to paint theists with a broad brush, and like the reason
mention that,
and unfortunately, I guess he didn't stay around to kind of take in the lesson. He just wanted to keep trying to bait me in chat.
Someone banned him.
I did. I banned him and then I unbanned him 3 minutes later. But I was
I think he deserved a ban. Though he
did
really
that's rude. And this is the thing. You know. You can paint.
You can't broad brush theist. You just can't do it.
Yeah,
that's why I was like, why he was trying to say you're not going to go to hell because. And I was like, why do you think all theists believe in hell? Because I'm like, I don't even know if I necessarily believe in the concept of hell, and I'm a theist. So it's just kind of like you broad brush any segment of a population, and that actually increases, I think, the tribalism. You had a lot of Trumpers or people that supported President Trump go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole because, just of how people treated them. Now, listen, there to some extent, I will say there are some things like racism. Racism, bigotry, and stuff like that, is a no-go. But you had some people that just supported him because of economics. And then I've seen members of my family go further and further into dissent the past 4 or 5, now. Sure. So it's a common thing. And so, I'm going to say, it's not just what happens with theists. It happens with you can find, atheists, agnostics, left, right. You can find any, this is the thing. The internet is a way for us to connect with others. Do we often try and connect with people that we relate to? And does the algorithms on these internet websites sometimes, help us insulate each other? Sure. Yeah. So
it happens with conspiracy theorists because they spend hours and hours and hours on these sites, and they almost they get so wrapped up in it, they almost forget that there's a normal world out there where people aren't worried about chemtrails and 5G microchips and
And when you meet them, they assume that when you meet them, they assume you're worried about the same things. They'll go, that vaccine, and you're like, yeah, no, I've already got it. And they're like, really? You really did that? And it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
my sister.
I haven't died yet.
Science.
I'm not dead.
I'm not dead.
Yeah. But it's weird that they assume that you automatically agree with them because that's usually what they encounter. They say, hey, they put out a dog whistle of some sort, like, oh, vaccines, and people automatically go, oh, yeah, those vaccines are terrible, and they never experience anything else. So
I've gone through that where I'm just kind of baffled by how some people take certain positions, because I am kind of a little bit farther.
You're baffled by certain positions.
I am. Listen,
God damn it, James.
I did a stream earlier. I did a stream earlier. I was covering a Christian. Thankfully, he's not a very big Christian yet. But he was literally saying that to take the vaccine is to defile the third temple and to go against God. It's the mark of the beast. And when you have these narratives and you're trying to get the population to a point of herd immunity, and you have people playing on people's religions against it, it's very hard to combat that.
CNN and other news organizations that aren't Fox News, which is not a news organization, they've actually said this in court in the U.S. There was a piece done where fair, but I know. Well, it's a little bit better reputable, source wise, a little bit.
Go ahead.
According to college.
CNN spins truth, but they oligarchy.
Yeah, but my general point is I'll poke around a little bit CNBC, MSNBC, and some other stuff too. Sometimes I poke around Fox News, but but no, there was a piece done where they were interviewing people who had COVID somewhere in the South. I think it was might have been Arkansas or something like that. This woman is in a ICU unit. Like she has to actually talk to the reporter through a walkie-talkie or a phone or something like that.
Yeah.
She has actively has COVID and is like, I'm not going to get the vaccine. And I'm just like, what even? Like, how bad you're in the hospital. You don't want to protect.
Well, a better question would be like if you have COVID, and the question would be like, do you regret not getting the vaccine?
Yeah.
And there are people
they still say no.
There is this narrative out there. If you've gotten COVID, you have the antibodies that the vaccine is going to give you. And I'm like, what sold me, because I had COVID last October.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh bless.
There's actually
what sold me is
vaccines protect you more so.
Yes,
than
you get the vaccine, you double your antibodies. Like it's a no-brainer to me, right? Like,
well, and haven't they also done some studies that have shown like people who get COVID, like their antibodies like don't stay at the same level like that.
The science I've seen, it lasts 6 to 8 months.
Yeah,
that's the science I've seen. After that, you're vulnerable again.
Yeah.
What I see, even Fox, I think, had like father of 5, like a guy in his mid-30s died of COVID and said, I should have took the damn vaccine when he was in ICU on a ventilator like the day before he died. Should have just took the shot.
Yeah, and I mean it's tough because it's just kind of like, people are like, well, the vaccine is fake because you can still get it even if you can still get the flu if you have the flu vaccine. They they call it the
you can still die in a car crash even if you wear a seatbelt. It doesn't.
This is like all these things are connected because these are all like diffuse issues. They're things that like you're like, how do you know that the vaccine works? How do you know climate change is actually happening? How do you know that the Earth wasn't created 6,000 years? You don't
just
know that.
Questions.
So
climate change is easy. Just step outside right now.
Well, but all these are complicated subjects, and so.
But yeah, they go out of their way not to believe what they see with their own eyes.
I want to be reasonable because when somebody's like, I doubt that, I want to be like, well, what kind of evidence do you need that will convince you? And the thing that I find the most interesting is with all these topics that we over the past, and I think Trump has exacerbated this because that he's made it so people are much more likely to refute like academics and the government and to be more conspiratorial and be more like, I question everything that anybody's telling me. And questioning is good. I'm not saying it's not, but
like when you're given reasonable answers and reasonable resources to
when you
answers,
refuse to acknowledge
that's
the answer that's right in front of you.
Like this is the reason, like my generation and younger are like, okay, boomer is a meme now, and it's not like it's not a slight on all people that are older, but it's just unfortunately it's becoming a thing where it's just like.
The reason that the people do this, that they think this way, is because, one, the powers that be, the individuals and organizations that want to push that rhetoric because it has a financial advantage to them, has a power advantage to them to manipulate certain people into those positions, that they can point to situations where like the government has done something that was incorrect, and later on it came out that they were hiding something. Or here's a more subtle one, that some study somewhere did some nefarious thing where they doctored their data, and they can be like, but that study, they manipulated your data. Guess what? Academics manipulate their data. The data you're looking at.
But then these same people will, I can tell you one prominent case of that. The freaking autism and vaccine, Andrew Wakefield or whatever. But these kind of people will still like hold up Wakefield, like freaking effing Jenny McCarthy and stuff like that. Like all these different people are like, vaccines cause autism, and it's just like it's so super frustrating as someone who's neurodivergent and trying to go into like this kind of like realm of career field. Like
I covered a stream earlier of a Christian saying that fetal tissue is put in the vaccines. Telling his Christian base, honestly, if you get this vaccine, you're supporting abortion, quote unquote. It's like It's detestable what they're doing.
And there's a lot of like
But you guys know why
juxtaposition
they're
there
doing
that's
it,
like
right?
hypocrisy. Like
No. This is a control mechanism. It's social control. I'm the guy with the answers or gal with the answers. I am a leader in your faith system. You are to trust me and not outside sources.
Exactly.
Be of the world, but not in it. Right? No, I mean, be in the world, but not of it. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to quote it correctly. This is dogmatically Christian thinking.
Yep.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but when you have a belief system that rejects science because the supernatural is your go-to.
Yeah. It says you don't need evidence. You don't need evidence.
Right.
You just need faith.
And see, it's like, this is why I'm super glad, like, I'm still a person of some faith, but I'm still like, I love science and I think science is great. But like, I wish that, more people would kind of see the hypocrisy of some of these dogmatic stuff. Like, as far as current events go, like, masks, like a lot of people are arguing at school boards against masks. Oh, it's personal, my body, my choice. Okay, well then how do you feel about abortion? Nah. And then like, how do you feel about Afghanistan? Oh, these poor people, like, oh, so how do you think we should take in some of these people as refugees? Nah. Like the hypocrisy, like the hypocrisy is, that a lot of these people the cognitive dissonance, it's super frustrating.
I mean, we're in the pandemic we are in right now because of this complicated situation. And what's most vicious is we had this political capital to clamp things down. We didn't do it long enough. There was a mutation. Now we're spiking back up, but we don't have the ability to go back and say we need to lock it down.
Because everybody will say it's political suicide.
Everybody's done with it. That's right.
Right now, we're in the most dangerous time of this pandemic.
Yeah, because the rates now with Delta are more than they were at this time last year. And it's
I'm going to stop you there and say, when you say we, you're not meaning me. Because
no,
so
we're probably talking Americans.
No, like I said, let me give you an example of what happened over here.
We're talking the best country on earth, Mark, not Australia.
New Zealand locks the whole country down for one case.
Okay, so we locked down really hard, segmented the entire state into pockets, cut them off completely. Nobody could go out. It was basically a complete lockdown, shut down the whole thing, eliminated the virus. In my state, there has been 9 deaths. 9.
It's not possible here, though.
That's the thing is here we locked down, but it was a fake lockdown because everybody was going out. It wasn't a real lockdown.
Yeah, we call it a
mockdown
is what we call it.
Like Apple even did like the iPhone data and said people are not staying home. They're going out just as much.
When you say it's not possible, you mean that they're not willing to do it.
Exactly.
It is possible.
No, it's not possible.
It's literally not possible because of how our culture.
I mean, this whole thing, it literally proves the stupidity of America, right?
Exactly.
Like, so
say
like
that again, Rach. Americans are stupid.
It proves the stupidity of America.
That's right.
America, half of America denied COVID. And now that the Delta variant is here, if you look at the numbers of new vaccinations, that first shot number is up. People are scared because they were stupid for a year and a half. And now they're like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
This whole thing just shows how stupid Americans can be.
Yep.
And
like, we have some very brilliant people in this country, but at the same time, like, we have some... like idiocracy, we are getting slowly closer and closer. And I think somebody else might have said this somewhere on the channel the other day. I don't know if it was Amy or not, but like idiocracy we're getting closer and closer to that becoming. I mean, listen, I'll take Terry Crews as president as long as he he just shifts his pecs during his state of address.
Camacho is a nice guy.
That's amazing.
George Carlin said it best. 50% of people are dumber than average, and 50% people are smarter than average. And we're seeing that today.
It would be a lot easier right now if we didn't
I'll drink to George Carlin.
I'm going to say something that's very controversial. It would be a lot easier right now if we did not have an inept president. Like this Democratic president that these people said is the answer when Bernie Sanders obviously was. We are paying the price for that now. This pullout in Afghanistan is atrocious. It gives endless talking points to the right. And the right caused it.
Noah's flood?
The right caused it because Donald Trump released 5,000 Taliban leaders, but nobody's talking about that right now. They're only talking about Joe Biden.
So I can say this too. I'm from the great state of Delaware. I've been following Joe Biden since I was a kid. I can say so. Joe Biden. I think some of the issues that we're encountering are not because of middle to some of the people that are below Joe Biden. The pullout plan was actually from President Trump. They kept the timeline. So I think they would have been.
Biden implemented it.
Yeah.
Here's anything from Trump. Why?
Well, here's the thing. Also, so Joe Biden actually had a son.
I am the most anti-war person in this room, I guarantee. And I am telling you, this pullout was disastrous.
So we should have stayed in. So we should have stayed in.
We should have, but here's the thing, too. I think you have to remember that this was an over 20-year war. Yeah. It's cost military contractors here in the United States have made so much money off of the blood of United States citizens.
But how much did you spend over $80 billion?
Evacuate the civilian. You evacuate the civilians, and then you evacuate the military. You do not give any ground to the Taliban. Common sense. Pull out of Afghanistan. I'm for that.
Well, I think also Biden and the administration did not anticipate the Afghan army
collapsing. What did we spend?
The fuck out. Yeah.
83 billion.
They should have.
No, it's
Russia tried this in Afghanistan for 20 years and they failed.
No, it's
we tried it in Afghanistan for 20 years and we failed.
No, it's
$83 billion
has been there. We did not do anything. Taliban is winning. And honestly, like if you're gonna pull out, I'm
Taliban
for
is
that.
winning again.
I mean,
listen. Yes, the Taliban has won. They won.
The Taliban won 19 years ago. They knew that there was nothing. Well,
all they had to do is not lose.
It's the lesser. Yeah. It's a lesser of two evils. We've been there.
We spent $83 billion on the Afghan army, and it was a waste. We got nothing for it.
You gotta evacuate the civilians first.
I know, and listen, I'm not gonna say full apologetics for Joe Biden. Like, I do think there is some. I think though that some things have been leveled too much to Joe. But when it should be,
it's the Pentagon. It's the freaking Pentagon.
The people that are giving Joe Biden the advice, and he's just kind of like the president. It's like a CEO. You have people underneath of you. The people underneath Joe Biden did not think the Taliban would take over as quickly as what they did. I think there's definitely I can agree to some of your reasoning.
Wait a minute.
For real. And I think for Joe it's a lose-lose situation because Joe, his son Bo fought in Afghanistan, so they had a veteran in their family.
Wait a second. It's been 6 months ago we had the worst president ever. And we had this election. Everybody's like, we got to get rid of Trump. So guess what? They put up for election the most moderate white old guy that's possible. Now, is Joe Biden got good policies? Probably not. We could probably find somebody better. Okay, fair enough. But we wanted to get rid of Trump, and that in the first 6 to 8 months he's been in here. Wait. Let's not just throw Biden. Just not throw Biden. Wait a second. Let's not throw Biden under the bus.
They cheated Bernie once again.
I mean, I'm a Bernie stan. I like the fact that Bernie has walked the walk and talked the talk for
But you'll never get Bernie.
Too late. He's too old.
Because you'll vote for Biden.
I don't want to be that guy, but I think Amy's trying to remind us that this is about Mark and Noah's friend.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
totally off topic here, but
Marv, I can see by Mark's face he's enjoying it too. Either way, but nonetheless,
I just want
Mark's like, watch the Americans destroy themselves over politics, please.
And so
look, geopolitics affects everybody in the world, quite frankly.
But this kind of thing illustrates what we have going on culturally. It's some of the stuff
Joe Biden went to high school with Noah.
Exactly.
Joe Biden went to high school with Noah. Did you know that? Seriously.
I'm gonna send I'm going to send the link out. I know we have 10. I can put James and we shuffle ourselves. So if there's a theist, we definitely give priority as well. So Praise or standing or any of them.
If you want to come in, Praise, join on. I don't know how much the fee is, but
I only see 10. I will be leaving soon. I should have been in bed.
I can hop off for a bit.
No, well, I will say, don't feel pressured. I know some people, they get called out and then they're like, oh, you're dragging my butt on. I was here in sweatpants. So if you're enjoying watching, just keep on watching. But I will send the link into chat and we're going to go for about another 20, 30 minutes or so. We're having fun and then we'll do our little outros. But I'm trying to...
Yeah, Praise, come on in.
Well, you're lucky about half pants.
I'll just hop off. Thanks for having me.
Get in there, Praise.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
Have a good night, nice having you on.
Night.
Bye, Ian.
And I wanted to ask you
I want to know what
nice, easy question.
Whoever thought I would say that? Jesus
but I would say it seems like Bubbles agrees
with everything Bubbles has said in an intro.
Yeah. Is Bubble awake? I haven't heard from Bubble in a while.
I'm only seeing 8 on my screen because I have this weird StreamYard hack, so that's my fault.
Ooh, a StreamYard hack.
Right, good old gray hat over here. And my question for you, Mark, would be, what do you think was the silliest thing that Kent said of all his things?
Oh, wow, there's a question. You know what? I think it has to be the vegetarian lions. I really think that is one of the vegetarian hawks is one of the... I just imagine a hawk with a beak eating hay, and it just brings a smile to my face every time. It is the most ridiculous thing.
Imagine a snake trying to eat like an apple, just coiling up and striking.
So you're talking like, before the fall, animals were vegetarian.
Apparently so.
Before the flood, according to Kent.
It's so ridiculous.
But why?
Yeah.
But why? Is it because when they got
Genesis
on the ark,
says
they
that
couldn't eat meat?
Well, it's because the
Genesis says they couldn't eat meat until after, yeah.
Well,
listen, they probably spent so much time together in close quarters that they were like, F this guy, F Randy, I'm going to go eat Randy as soon as I'm off this gosh darn boat.
Because Kent said that way they didn't have to be in cages. They could all just be in there communally, and Noah would just have to throw plants or hay in there.
Animals. The problem is you've got a hawk, it grabs a mouse, and suddenly that species.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. On the ark, there was a cat. He saw a mouse, and hence meat eating was born.
Even an elephant stepping on something by accident, and it could cause an extinction.
It also suggests that there wasn't a single death among the animals in that entire time.
Nope.
Even though you've got a very, very awkward living space and a lot of water coming in.
Are we sure? What about unicorns?
There was 2 T-Rex there, right?
Maybe
unicorns. What about the unicorns?
They made it.
You're a fucking unicorn.
Those T-Rex had to be brutal on that ark. I'm just saying.
This is actually an excellent point because it gets to the heart of these types of models, which is in order to explain how that animals didn't eat each other, or the issues of not being able to have meat on the ark because all they can have is hay and other things. They have to say, how do we explain this? So then they work backwards and they say,
all vegetarian.
It must be that they were vegetarians. So it's they have the answer. The answer is Noah's Ark, global flood. Now let's work backwards and say, in order to show that it was a global flood and Noah's Ark existed, how do we organize all the pieces? And if this piece isn't in the right place, we got to come up with some way to justify that. So that's completely backwards thinking. It's we already know what the result is. Now let's just work backwards.
And see, I could come up with another, okay, so hay is not the most nutritious thing ever.
No.
Okay, say they did eat hay.
If you're how would you
have got... Yeah, but a horse, but
Hey.
but most animals, their digestive systems are not engineered for that. So in that essence too, okay, so they don't eat this today. Did they evolve to not eat hay then? Like, you can kind of...
The weirdest thing was, Kent said changing from a vegetarian lion to a meat-eating lion isn't a big change. And it's like, wait, they're not just their digestive system, also their teeth. They don't have molars to crush down hay. Their claws, they have claws used for like latching onto prey. They have a body shape that's supposed to be low and pounces for chase. So all of these changes, at that point, you're not talking about the same animal anymore. It's a change.
Like a cheetah would not look the same if it could subsist on plants.
Well, the mosquitoes must have had a heyday on that ark. I'm just saying.
There were mosquitoes on the ark.
A couple people in chat were asking about a source to go to for flood mythologies, kind of like where they would start. So I put a thing in chat. Probably if I had a student asking me who had no background, I would go to the site. It's known as livius.org, and Amy can throw it out there. It's a very good online resource for history.
Are you a mod, Pat? I could just make you a mod. I think you're supposed to be anyway. Something like that.
Well, maybe I am.
I threw it in chat.
Let's just say I don't know. Yeah, so it starts with flood mythologies. It has the Epic of Gilgamesh in it. Talks about the Eridugenesis, the Epic of Atrahasis. Talks about some of the source theories that are problem within the account in the biblical text. That basically there is a two-source hypothesis just with the Noah flood myth. That it's probably a priestly source and another source that were conflated. That's why 150 days in one version, 40 days in another version. This is the kind of thing you need to look at if you really want to drill down into it. And for those that, I guess, are theists who want to know more, this would be a good place to start. And for those that are on the more skeptical nature and they want to firm up their argumentation, this would be a good resource for that as well.
I actually, I think I told you guys that I've been reading this book by David Montgomery, and he is a geologist at the University of Washington. And he's a geologist, but his particular interest is the intersection of religion and science. And he's very fascinated with Noah's flood. Why do people how did scientists / religious individuals come to the conclusion that that science had some connection with religion, and then eventually it kind of moved away from that? He's really interested in the history of that. And I was actually watching a video. He's got a book called The Rocks Don't Lie, and it's on Amazon. If you just Google David Montgomery, The Rocks Don't Lie, you can get it. But he's got a video where he presents his material to Harvard. I'm going to put it in the chat. And if anybody's interested in watching it, it's fascinating because Pat might actually be interested in it because it talks a lot about this, again, the intersections of religion. It talks about what's the guy's name? Steno. Steno was one of the first geologists that explored these issues of uniformitarianism, but he connected it with the Bible. And then eventually Hutton was like, wait a second, there's this thing, geologic time, and it really refutes everything about the 6,000-year-old Earth. And so what ended up happening is issues of paleontology and other types of sciences that are spin-offs of geology are like, wait a second, lots of conflicts here with this connection between religion and science. So David Montgomery talks a lot about that. So it's a good video to watch if you don't want to buy the book.
He's at Washington State, right?
Yeah.
I think he's at University of Washington.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me that video though. That's the kind of stuff I dig. Because that's the thing. As a theist, I'm like, I kind of like to see how people kind of meld these things together. Because it's on some level, it's just kind of like, okay, do I do the same thing? Probably, but it's just like I kind of like to see how people kind of come to the conclusions that they come to.
Yeah, I mean, he talks a lot about this of like what like in the beginning, folks like Steno were like, they're religious. He's like a Catholic priest, and he's like how he's trying to connect what he's seeing scientifically with what he's reading in the Bible, and he's trying to make associations. And this is where he's like, oh, we see these catastrophic flood events. This associates with Noah's flood. But then Hutton comes along and is like, wait a second, we know that we can trace that if we've got layers of rock that are sandstone sediment. They had to have time to compress. There was an uplift which changed their orientation. Then there's another layer that's a different orientation. It had to be laid down and compressed. There's just not enough time for that. And then they start to connect all these things. The other one is like extinct animals who are extinct, like mammoths. This one guy, Colvier, was a paleontologist from France. He researched the connections between mammoth heads and elephant heads. And he's like, they're not the same. They're not the same. You can't just say an elephant is a mammoth. And mammoths are extinct before the flood event. So this is a big gotcha with Noah's Ark, which is, how do you explain animals that went extinct? Like, I thought, wait a second, I thought Noah put a 2 of every animal on there. Did he just like forget the mammoths? What happened? Did they go extinct beforehand? That
the unicorns just didn't make it on time, you know.
and to make it more difficult, he didn't just put 2 of every animal. He put it, because they're conflated traditions. There's at least 2 different sources. It's 2 of every and 7 of every clean.
That's right.
7 pairs of clean animals. So again, I love the atheist argument. Let's add up all the animals in every species and double it, right? Well, but of clean animals, you got to take 7 pairs, right? So it gets crazy.
I mean,
again,
crazy is not even the word for it.
Yeah.
So we cannot forget the lifespans
impossible
of human beings during this time span that portrays the Earth as 6,000 years old. You're talking about Adam was like 920 years old. Even if you reduce that to like earliest mankind calendars, you're talking about a human being that lived 250, 350 years old. These things are just not possible.
I mean, unless you're saying Noah ate his Wheaties
not.
and you know, he was like the fittest human being ever. Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, my parents were.
I mean, like, he didn't even
My mom
reproduce until he was like in his 450s, right? Like, you know, like,
people just lived to be that old back then, Amaretto. It's just because God made the genetics.
I mean, listen, you know,
with
my
it.
great granddad was
Just
60
deal
years
with it.
old when he had my grandmother, you know, but like, there's
Oh,
just
what a guy.
some limits to things. He was a Methodist, met my great grandfather was a Methodist minister, bless his heart.
He was
Had my
swinging.
my great grandmother was
religious
40.
folk like
That
gay
boggles
sex.
me. but I'm just saying, like, listen, like, it's just so
Jesus.
much does not add up. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I can find the wonders and the magic and things like this, but I'm just like, it's amazing when you think about, you know, the natural processes that, you know, made all of my rocks and everything else. Geology is wonderful. And just because, you know what, maybe you're, you know, it doesn't fit in with the flood myth doesn't mean it's not great. Doesn't mean that it's not true. And, you know, what is science? Science is a way with, you know, it's how we
Walk
answer
around and
questions
find
about
out.
the world.
That too.
Well, it was weird. At one point, Kent seemed to be arguing with his own chat because they sort of said, how can a river go through 7 foot of limestone kind of thing? And he's like, well, it could happen in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, really? Really? Water cuts through limestone in a week or something? It was just so ridiculous.
With
I mean, unless
calm,
does that, you know, was
Why
that acidic water or something
Why
like
didn't-
that? Like, how?
Why didn't the sides of the Grand Canyon slope? Why didn't they just crumble in? If it happened so fast, wasn't that sediment very weak? I mean, I don't understand that. And
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
what
argument.
about- go ahead.
Okay. This is what Neff told me for the Grand Canyon. And
Oh, I don't need to know a
Oh,
thing.
No, come on.
Finally,
Okay.
true scientist.
Neff is awesome.
Look, that's a whole nother level of crazy. I'm not sure I'm
Okay.
prepared for right now.
no. This is what Kent and Neff believe. They say that there was this
Thank you,
lake
Amy.
that would there was this lake after the flood, because you know, let's say after the flood there would be like these lakes, right? These giant lakes. And so one of these lakes, have you ever seen water like go over the edge of like the sand of the sand? It starts cutting into the sand. And so what this the concept is the same.
No,
So like it is.
Not
it's
really.
not the same.
It's a lot harder to cut through rock than it does cut through sand.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, was the Grand Canyon soft sediment, or was it
no? When I'm saying cutting, I don't literally mean cut like a water jet, but it's like as the water goes over the edge, it starts making this gap, which the sand erodes from that edge, and it keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. You can do this experiment yourselves. This is an actual.
But the problem, Bubbles, is that he says that it cut through this very hard rock like limestone in a week.
A week. Yeah, that's something I don't buy.
Days.
Yeah, I don't buy that, but I do know that science behind the water going over the edge of sand does create this.
Desert, though.
Yeah. I mean, an even greater problem is at the bottom of the Grand Canyon is what's called the Vishnu schist. It's a metamorphized rock, and the only way that it can be formed is through
say that around Kent.
Temperature. Well, what? Don't say the Vishnu
schist.
Yeah. That's what it is, the Vishnu schist. But the only way that it can form is through temperature and pressure. And so the layers of rock, it had to have many layers of rock on top of it, pressing down for many years to even form that.
For billions of years, yes.
Kent doesn't pay any attention.
And the pressure.
Where's the sediment coming from? Where's the rock come from? Coming from outer space? Does just sprinkle down on top and there's new rock?
I mean, in the pressurized environment of an ocean that no longer exists, right? Like the Grand Canyon was formed underwater.
No, after the flood.
I'm not sure about that.
You're saying
From my research,
that's what Kent says.
The Colorado River.
Says, yeah.
This is the idea.
That it was formed how?
The floodwaters went down. It left big ass lake. The water spilled over the edge of the lake and somehow carved the Grand Canyon.
Basically, it's just a big valley.
Okay, fair enough. But my question is, if in order to carve out the Grand Canyon, there had to have been layers of rock for it to carve out. So even let's just assume it can do it, like which it can't. But let's just say that for some reason, even if it could, how did those layers of rock form? And they had to have formed over a long period of time.
I can explain this. Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever taken let's say you get a mixture of sand.
Another analogy.
No, this is something you can actually do.
Yeah, we're not talking about sand bubbles.
No, this is Kent's argument, not Bubbles. I understand what Bubbles is doing. He's just saying Kent's argument. Okay, so it's not too hard.
This is something you can do. You can get like different types of sand, put them in the you ever seen those magnetic
Are you going to say the larger stones fall to the bottom and the lighter and it filters? All right. Okay.
No. You ever seen those? You ever seen those glass ant farms? You can see through it.
Are you talking about the sand toys that Ken has, where he turns the thing upside down? He used to do that all the time. His sand toy,
Okay. Yeah. He was looking around.
You see layers form.
You
didn't have his sand toy today.
Yeah, he didn't have soda. You can do that with. You can fill it up with water, fill it up with sand, and you'll get this layer.
Why does that happen?
Because I mean, how else are we going to explain the uniformity?
I didn't say how else. I just said why does it happen?
Well,
why does that sand filter like that?
Well, I'm guessing gotta go with probably because of the weights of the sand. I don't know, not exactly.
Yeah, you know. Stop.
It has to do with the grain size and the density. So, like,
Pat has an answer.
Will start to separate, but we know for a fact if we look at the Grand Canyon, we don't actually see that in those layers. We can actually find layers that have larger grain sizes above those that have finer grain sizes, and they're intermixed. It's not structured in that way. So
to add into
one thing Ken didn't address was where I brought up that you have the layers, and then you have areas that have been flipped. So what you have is the layers going one way, and then the layers going the other way. And the flood geology doesn't explain that at all, how it got flipped over. But the plate tectonic model with immense timeframes exactly explains how that happens with, is it abduction, where it basically goes up and then it flips over?
And you would need a volcano.
Hold on. And to add in,
you don't see any volcanoes nearby.
Jesus Christ. To add into that, there's the Paladar Canyon, which is in Texas, which is the second largest canyon in America, is almost identical in every way, shape, and form, like the Grand Canyon was made.
Well, yeah. If you're talking about the uniformity of nature, it can be explained by like this giant flood type of ordeal.
Oh, it can't.
So,
Yeah, I don't think it can, Bubbles.
I want to ask a question.
That's a very poor
Bubbles,
explanation.
you're just making Kent's argument. You don't actually believe this, correct?
Oh, he believes it.
Do you believe it?
I do believe there could have been a giant flood. I don't believe in this exactly. I don't buy Kent's arc. I'm a polytheist.
Kent's arc.
Just the arc. That's the only thing you got a problem with. Like all of this weird geology is just the arc.
Well, yeah, I can see a giant flood. Like we had an ice age. I can see all that. I can see like after the ice age, spotlight melting. There's enough water to sink all the earth. So
are you convinced?
No, there's not.
Based on the scientific evidence, or are you convinced based on like faith?
Well, there's literally not enough water to cover the entire earth. That's why Christians come up with this water's coming from the deep. Bullshit mythology.
Well, that's why in the debate, Mark caught Ken, and Kent's like, well, all the mountains formed in a few days. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Everything went from flat to Mount Everest in like 5 or 6 days, and that makes sense.
5 miles an hour.
Yeah, I have trouble with that.
5 miles an hour.
Because because in the Chinese flood story, they say they went to the mountains and they would like carve this channel to avoid the flood.
It's a story, my man.
Well, my question for you, Bubble, in your theology, does everyone drown?
In some of them, they do.
No, in
yours.
No, I can see.
Interesting.
Well, no, because you have the Chinese, and apparently the Chinese
is it a local flood or is it a global flood?
Global flood.
So
what? Global or do you believe in a global flood?
Well, it sounds like he is saying a global flood. But if you believe in a global flood and no one drowned, what happened?
I believe because, I don't believe in the happy dippy hippie version of the Christian Bible. I believe this God is very meany.
You think the Christian Bible's hippie?
Wow,
yeah.
I'd hate to see a comparison.
Drowning millions of people is...
to me, the Christian Bible is straight xenocide.
No, you should see the Aztec God. The Aztec God says, "I'll flat like I fucking hate you." He just.
I don't care if you can find the worst God.
I killed everybody but one family.
Sorry, come again.
I mean, how can you hate humanity more than killing everybody except for one family?
Because he was upset they weren't worshiping him, so he just gets rid of them.
So was Yahweh when he
stopped giving bucks.
Yeah.
So
that's the whole reason for the flood is they weren't worshiping him, right? Right?
No, in the Christian version,
on your knees, Amy. Worship him on your knees.
Oh, baby.
I mean, if you come from a Christian worldview, then you're saying like the entire world was pedophiles and rapists.
No, the reason in the Christian version why God floods the earth was because the angels came down and had sex with the humans. Yeah, it had sex with humans.
Wait, no. So I've covered
not exactly. It was more.
You have literally 2 sentences of the Nephilim, and you have a lot of sentences about how God hates humans. How do you compare, God punishing the Nephilim to killing all of humanity on Earth? That makes no logical sense at all.
No, I was talking about the Aztec God earlier. This isn't the Aztec God. The Aztec God just gets like, you're not worshiping me, okay. Fuck you then, and kills them.
We'll have Amaretto punish Nephilim free.
The better question is why can't these gods just chill out? Yeah. Why they all gotta be angry and he absolutely deserves
it. Worship me.
Because they're property.
Like, come on, Amy.
There's
you said you like being on your knees.
Property.
Because they see humans as property. It's like, those are my humans. They're going to worship me.
Okay, hold on. There's no answer to that question. She's being sarcastic. There's not an actual answer.
But he still gave one, so it counts.
I know, and that's ridiculous. It's not an answer.
It is ridiculous, but...
What? What was the question? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
You just answered the. Oh my.
Oh no!
Why can't he just chill out? Why does he need everybody to worship him?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
Great answer. Perfect answer. That's the answer. I don't know. Thank you.
If you don't worship him, it doesn't exist.
No, they still exist. Phenomena still exist regardless of your belief.
Do you worship him, Bubble? Who do you
No.
worship? No.
So if nobody were to believe in Yahweh, Yahweh would exist still.
Well, yeah, kind of like kind of gravity.
Come on, Bubbles.
Well, you might not realize this, but all physics, laws of physics, are just social constructs.
Wait a minute. Hey, Bubbles. Bubbles.
That's like the one thing that's not a social construct, right?
Wait, Bubbles. What's your educational background? Have you been to college or not?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious. So,
Ouija board university.
Why would you say that laws of physics are just social constructs? What leads you to believe that?
Because they only apply within our universe.
Wait, have you been to other universes? Because if so, I'm curious.
Is everything in the universe a social construct?
It doesn't make it a social construct. What's a social construct?
Okay, do you believe in objective reality?
Do I believe in objective reality?
Hold on. Answer his question first, though.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah, I believe in objective reality.
Okay, so you objective believe you. Give me one objective reality. Do you believe the laws of? Okay. Do you think
one objective reality, please?
No, I was gonna say like.
The TVA Amy, the TVA is going to be coming for us shortly.
Do you think you okay? Would you longer exist outside the universe?
Would I say that again?
Would you exist outside the universe?
I don't know.
Within your definition.
How could anybody possibly know that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
See, so you're admitting it's a.
Can we observe?
Because I don't know.
Can we observe? Can we experience outside of the universe?
That doubt is showing that it's a very high possibility.
So faith is your answer.
No, I'm saying
talking about Bubbles. If you don't know the answer to something, it's not showing your.
No, I'm not saying faith. Okay.
Oh, you are saying faith.
I don't understand how this relates to a social construct.
Okay,
Jason was being very charitable, but the answer he probably would have given is based on the evidence we have at hand. No, we don't exist outside of our universe, but because he is taking a scientific approach, he can't eliminate all options, but he has a high degree of confidence that he won't exist outside this outside.
But I don't know.
So let's go with that answer.
Well, like for example, let's say take any laws of physics you want. Those don't exist outside the universe.
How do you know?
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Well, you don't know that. You're asserting something you don't know.
No.
How do you know different laws of physics don't exist outside of the universe?
Exactly.
We have no idea of these things. Like these are things we can't possibly know.
Well, for a start, Bubbles would have to prove there is something outside the universe which nobody knows. So, as far as a cosmos is concerned, go ahead and prove that, Bubbles. How would you demonstrate that?
Well, through information.
Oh, come on.
What
Bubbles.
Information?
Look all around you. It's all information.
Oh my God!
You're not talking about the
and Bubbles. Your sensory import, your information is limited to this universe. Even if you go, well, look, it's wonderful. You still only see things in this universe. So to say there's something beyond it is special pleading and not factually based, even on known criteria that the experiential evidence that you have.
Yeah,
is still limited by what you see, feel, and within this universe.
I've
you
looked deeply
can't stick your finger through the matrix and touch another universe.
I've looked deeply into string theory.
Let me reply to that.
Into multiverse. I've looked. I mean,
these
are fun theories to look at, but
let me reply to that.
We can't. We only know reality based within the universe we observe.
Okay, a reality is not objective reality. You live in a reality, not objective reality.
How do you know?
Look,
because the universe is finite.
How do you know that?
How do you know?
Because there was a big bang.
What does the word objective mean?
2 more minutes, guys.
Yeah,
okay, are you gonna?
I'm not sure you understand what objective means.
Are you gonna deny the background radiation?
Come on, Bubbles.
No,
stop.
of course
That's
not.
Enough.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
fact.
think Bubbles is trolling.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys are taking the position that
No.
the universe is infinite. I'm taking the
No.
position the universe is
never-
No,
finite.
I don't think any
No.
atheist takes
I
the
never
position
said
that the universe is infinite. I think we all.
No, for this debate. For this debate.
I think
Yeah.
most subscribe to the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
We obviously see that there's some kind of beginning. We can't see the absolute beginning, but we understand that there was some kind of a beginning.
If something has a beginning, it has to have an end.
You're making assumptions.
Maybe.
Listen, you're making assumptions based on the knowledge that you have. We're saying, but we don't have certain information. We just don't know. So to say that you don't know doesn't mean that we're saying anything other than that. We're just saying we don't have all the answers to everything. You're making a claim that I guess you do have all the answers.
And it doesn't give your explanation any more credence. If we say, I don't know, it doesn't automatically make you right.
No, I'm not saying I don't know. This is the thing.
We're saying we don't know. You're saying you
know. I'm saying I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
but
okay.
But that doesn't mean that something does or doesn't exist. It just says I don't know. When you say, is reality objective? Would I exist outside of the universe? And I say, I don't know. That doesn't mean yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. I think I would agree with Pat that like the likelihood is that I wouldn't, and we can make assessments of that case, but ultimately we don't know. That's the way science works. Science is provisional. Science doesn't say,
yeah, but you're
a big Marvel fan.
You're limiting your science,
right?
Yes. You're limiting your science by being in the sphere. You're only thinking within the universe.
We're not limiting science.
How can you think outside? The question is, how can you think outside of this universe when the only reality you know is within it?
No, I said like we live in this reality. I don't think this is an objective
how can you
reality.
possibly think outside of that reality?
How
can you do that?
You probably can't.
You're making
assumptions
assumptions
watching
about
one too many Marvel movies, and the Asgardians, their magic is actually science.
No, I derived this because God is real.
This is
but you don't know that,
right? But you.
Well, right, so God is real. Yeah. How do you distinguish that? How do you prove that? I mean, I've been searching for 44 years, my dude.
Well, you have to
also in defense of Marvel, they know their fantasy.
That's right.
You have to
Marvel's been some good too.
You have to understand that information is directed to intelligence.
Oh, geez.
So why don't
give me a second. Bubbles, are you a polytheist or a monotheist?
Polytheist.
You're a polytheist, so there's multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chief deity in your
It makes it
polytheistic
so
worldview?
much more difficult.
Yeah, I do believe in hierarchies, yeah.
So you believe in hierarchy. So what is the purpose of lesser gods?
Lesser gods, I don't know.
And what is your conception of a god? That's important when talking to polytheists. So most polytheists conceive gods as this discombobulated mind that kind of floats through the universe. It's not something that's inhibited in human form, right? Like so what is your conception of a god? Maybe we are not even talking on the same wavelength of what a god is.
We're not.
Well,
we're not.
Well, for me, a god would be something like Thor. You know, a powerful entity who has like these supernatural.
So I know a lot of pagans. I know a lot of heathens. The technical term for somebody that follows Norse mythology, and most of those pagans and heathens would tell you that Thor is a discombobulated mind. He's not what the mythologies present to you. So what is your conception of a god? Because I think we're talking past each other.
Okay. A god would have to be an entity with extremely amount of power that can lay down its own phenomenal laws.
So did this god create the universe?
Laws?
Well, you know how like whatever gravity, we don't know what gravity is, but whatever phenomena that is.
I'll say that we do.
This is insane.
And so
you have like no background in any science whatsoever. You just
guys.
Well, I have an experiment if you want it.
All right.
So what's going to happen is you're going to. Can you give the experiment in your outro?
No, yeah. I mean, are you willing to do it? I think you should try it.
Oh, it's an experiment that we're supposed to do right now. Okay.
Did Pat get to go through his submit questions?
I'd rather actually keep the outros on topic. So what you can is you're gonna, if you want, show that, and that'll be the last thing we do, and then we're gonna outros and then head to Discord.
Did Pat get to finish his line with him? I thought Pat wanted to.
He did. Did you get through your line of questioning, Pat?
Pat says he'll be back in a few, I think.
Oh, he said I'll be back in a few? Yes,
I
okay.
I
know he wanted to do a question.
That is okay.
He got cut
we can
off,
always, if
he's
we're going to
take
continue
a quick
this.
breath of sanity before he comes back.
Brains. But we are going to be heading to the Discord after. We continue conversations. And so we are Bubble. Are you looking for it right now? If not, I'm going to head right into the outros.
Okay.
No, what are we doing now? What's Bubbles doing now? Is this an experiment of some sort?
He wanted to give us an experiment.
No, I was gonna give the guy on my left. You know the experiment I always give people.
Jason.
First of all, that sounds hot.
Oh,
board experiment. God damn
the Ouija board.
Is this the Ouija board thing? Come on.
Well, actually, I have a question for you, Bubble, because you kind of when we asked a little bit about the Ouija board, you actually said that was only like the so-so tool. So what is the more accurate tool than the Ouija board?
I know what a tool is.
Well, they seem to be working better with what you do is you get 2 REM pods. What REM pods are you yourself, whatever. You get 2 REM pods. REM pods are basically just motion sensors, and you put one with a yes sign on it, and the other one with a no sign on it. And this way, the ghost can touch whatever question related your questions, yes or no. Like, is he wearing a red shirt? And if he answers, yes, if he is wearing a red shirt, it's starting to show intelligence. So this.
Will you please show that on video?
I know.
No, there's no point for me to do it.
Why not? Why not?
Because you would just say it's a bias.
You fail, Rage. You fail.
You fail, Rage.
That's not how it works.
Oh my god.
Because
I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack.
And okay,
what if I fake it, right?
Just show it. I want to see proof.
What if I fake it? What if I fake it? You don't want me to fake it.
It's not even a legit experiment.
Yes, it is.
Even if you fake it, I can be like, all right, 50-50.
I won 100.
If it's fake, he just wants to see it. That's all. It'd be hilarious.
What do you test?
I love that sentence.
What are you testing?
Wants to see it.
What are you testing in the experiment?
Well, you have to go to a place of massive suffering. For example, a prison.
Like this
to go to any prison.
This room right here.
To my porn.
Yeah, this room right here.
I'm not being disrespectful to you. I ask my good friends, pagans, this very same thing. I'm like, if you believe in magic, just prove it to me. I just want to see it. If I see it, I believe it. I promise.
Well, I'm telling you, just try it yourself. Go to a.
No, we want you to do it. You're making the claim.
Bubble, I'm happy to talk with you on a stream sometime. If you want to do that.
And I think we need to have.
I am too, man. I am so interested right now.
We either need to have an episode where it's about ghosts, or I think we need to have a debate about Ouija board. We got to have something on there.
Yeah.
So
listen, man.
I was a dude pushing the Ouija board to what I wanted it to say. I was that guy. I'm just saying.
You have to bring your witch's hat, Amaretto. Your witch's hat is compulsory.
And all right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun, but we're moving into hour 3. It has been a great time as we have talked Noah's Flood, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction.
Fiction.
Dun, dun, dun. And with that, we're bringing in the mimes.
Super straight.
I
said super straight.
Super straight mimes.
I'm obsessed with it. Yeah, we each have our words.
Totally not. Totally not a trad boy wife mime.
That's the obligatory response for the mimes.
I love it.
But Rage, we have been having fun. We have been asking ourselves, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction? Where can people find you? Hope you had a good time tonight. What are your final thoughts?
Oh yeah. I appreciate you having me on, Amy. I love your channel.
Good
I
to have
love
you
on, Rich. Final thoughts. Definitely fiction. There were no Nephilim. Never was, never were, never will be.
Nope.
And the flood wasn't even about Nephilim. It was about humans, and Christians need to get it right. Read your own text and get it right. If you're going to promote this false ideology, promote it correctly and talk about the genocide of human beings instead of the genocide of a fictional character that never existed. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rage.
Thank you so very much. And all right. And actually, I just want to throw up there. I don't even have.
I want to throw up
his Rage's
name. Yes. Give me just
Raging Atheist.
one.
Yeah, I do have a channel and all that.
Smokey's best friend.
Yeah. He's my bro. He's my bro.
Fucking with Brian the Presbyterian.
Well, as I have got.
God, can I say this? Fuck that guy.
Sure.
Can I say that?
Brian the Presbyterian. Yeah. Back on the knee, like praise. Bending the knee to the smoked one.
Woohoo! So go check out Rage's streams. He's been doing a lot of great content. And all right, we're moving along.
I do have a kidney stone, so tomorrow I'm totally expecting to be non-existent for a while. So tonight I have a pain shot, so I'm here.
I'll smoke a bowl in your honor, my good sir.
Oh, sweet, thank you. I love all the weed I can get.
Have a drink on me, Amaretto.
Woohoo! And all right, we're moving right along. Pat, we have been looking at Noah's flood and Noah's Ark, asking ourselves fact or fiction. Hope you had a fun time. Where can people find you? What are your final thoughts?
Oh, Pat, if you wanted to ask it, bubble anything else, because I think you got cut off before, but if you wanted to.
It's all right. We can do it some other time. I'm sure Bubbles will be around.
Or on Discord.
I would like to explore some of his polytheistic beliefs and see, what they actually amount to. Thanks for having me on.
We love you, Pat.
The obviously the Noah flood account fails by numerous metrics. One is the body of scientific evidence, which largely refutes any claims of a global flood. It fails the archaeological test as far as being associated with Noah. Although archaeological evidence does show in a region not too far away from ancient Israel, that there is possibly an account that gives a archetype to this type of flood mythology in the region. But again, Noah's flood fails. We haven't found an ark, so that evidence fails as well. And again, this is just an apologetic nightmare for Christians, and to be fair, all the Abrahamic faiths that aspire to it. But thanks for having us on. And again, I'll see people in Discord. But I'm gonna eat a sandwich right now because it's just awesome.
Love you, Pat.
That's right.
Thank you, Pat.
Yes, send in love, Pat. And all right, we're moving right along. We've been having
Fuck around
fun.
and find out.
I know. Hey, not a bad name.
I mean, listen, Most Epic was being kind of bratty, so I had to. It's the first time I actually banned somebody for being an asshole. So,
Which
yay!
one?
Most Epic.
Is that the guy talking all caps?
That was the guy who was basically
Wesley,
saying theists, all three of us have mental problems and daddy issues and stuff like that. And I'm just like,
yeah.
And then he when I told him to cut it out, he started trying to bait me and everything else. And it's just like, okay, yeah, do no harm, take no shit.
I hate that. Stop it. Just stop that shit.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, listen, you can, he's like, yeah, no theists are going to be around my child. And I'm like, cool, you have no control over that in the greater scheme of the world. How do you really know if someone's a theist or atheist or whatever? Some people, and he didn't stick around after that, even after I unbanned him. Sad. But like, well, you listen, I feel justified. Mark even said he was rude. So
yeah, absolutely. Justified ban.
And these are our theist brothers and sisters.
Sometimes you gotta just
and queers and non-binaries. And
yeah, I mean,
this is my thing. Listen, this is a channel of positivity. Yes, do we kind of punch down or punch up sometimes? Sure, because I mean, listen, Kent Hovind's kind of a shit dude, but like in general though. Like you can't like it's rude to say that Jen. It's rude to say that like Jen and myself and Will and other theists who come here in good faith to have good discussion have daddy issues. I'm like, listen, count. I have daddy issues for the whole other reason of me not being a theist. Okay, so let's cut that off. But
Will doesn't count though.
All big screen bird daddy.
I just want to hear Amaretto say daddy.
You cannot put theists in a box, just like you can't put atheists in a box.
Yeah.
You cannot
precisely.
Do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like you could put me in a box; it'd be a huge fucking box, but you could.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
Are you gonna?
Call Big Bird Daddy.
Are we gonna?
Big Bird Daddy.
Are we gonna ship you to Kent Hovind's compound, Big Bird?
It's only like 6 hours from my house. It's not that far.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He won't survive the drive. No. But no, like my general thoughts. Yeah, I think it's myth. I think a regional flood's way more likely. I definitely have even though I'm a theist, I have a lot of qualms and issues with flood mythology being like absolute fact. I think, God damn it, there are definitely some cultural ties to all this stuff, at least here in the United States, and support your local science teachers that are actually teaching legitimate science and not like didn't Ken say he used to be a science teacher or one of these freaking crazy.
He went to churches and talked to kids. He wasn't a real teacher.
Was that Mr.
They're all either science teachers or former atheists. It's one of the two.
I think it's Mr. Batman that
Mr. Batman is like a substitute teacher. I don't think he's a real teacher.
Yeah, but he says he's a science teacher.
He says he's a science teacher.
Mr. Batman is the worst of them all. Like you talk about bigotries. Oh my god.
Yeah,
he's
too. Like this is the thing. Support people actually, whether you're theist, atheist, agnostic, who are teaching and have a respect for science and not using science to like hold up their bullshit and their propaganda. Science is not, in my opinion, it's something that we use to help answer questions about the world we live in and why things are the way they are. It's not something that we use to say, yeah, well, I believe this. All right, well, it's not something you can use to manipulate people, and unfortunately, that's what some people like to claim that they're scientists and science teachers, and yeah. So, I am the unicorn that died on the ark. Fear me.
One bottle down.
Did you raise on the third day?
I took my time with that, I mean, listen, it was a hard life back then, James. I mean, listen, there was no internet.
Excuse me, sir.
She came back on her second coming in heels. That's what happened. Woohoo! And all right, moving right along. And I know, Mr.
I had to take all the rainbows for myself.
I think Second Coming in Heels is the name of a porn tape.
Wow.
I was gonna say that.
Were you in that with
my tabs, right?
Speaking of porn tape, there's Jason.
Speaking of porn tapes.
Jason, we have been midnight ranting on Noah's flood and Noah's Ark. We've been asking ourselves the big question: fact or fiction? I don't know. Hope you had fun. Where can we find you? What are your thoughts? I know all about whales.
Why do I have to follow Amaretto? That's horrible, man. I can never do as good as she did.
Just wing it.
Yeah,
she could teach you, but she'd have to charge.
I was going to make a reference to the daddy thing, but I won't go there. So,
it's okay, Daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not go there.
Say it one more time.
Come on, you're making me blush.
Teach me stonks, Daddy. I need to make some money.
I just stonks. Where? I just recorded that, and I'm gonna use that for my phone. So when it rings, that's what I need.
Our job here is done.
Done.
Woo. Yeah, the debate went really great. I enjoyed watching Mark as a classic Kent Hovind type of spiel. I guess just like basically, a couple things. One, I want to mention that Pat and I want to do a debate with a couple other folks on this particular topic of young Earth creationism, biblical literacy, biblical historicity, the kind of the intersection between those things. And so, but general, my position is that, obviously the scientific evidence strongly supports, obviously, no global flood. Yeah, there's lots of evidence for local floods. There and certainly is lots of evidence that would suggest that we understand historically how people came up with these ideas of intersecting religion with what they're scientifically seeing, and that gives this view of this young Earth creationism. And I think I spoke to this previously about that they have a biblical view that they want to try to reach a certain point, which is the Earth is 6,000 years old, that what they see in the Bible is literally true. And they want to work backwards from that to see if they can piece together evidence that may suggest that that's the case. The problem with that is that when you look at the evidence in totality, that model falls apart completely. Similarly to like the flat Earth model, falls apart completely when you start to put pieces together. Things just can't work. It's the same thing with the Noah's flood. When you put together all we know about geology and paleontology and biology and geochemistry and climatology and physics and all those things, there's just no way that this model can work. So I'll just wrap it at that. But I thought Mark, as always, did a great job against honestly a difficult debater, because he comes with kind of a dishonest tactics and gallops all over you. But I thought Mark did a great job, and I enjoyed being on the stream tonight. So good seeing everybody.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to have you on, Jason.
Thank you so very much, Jason.
And I'm happy to be anybody's daddy anytime they want me to.
Oh my God.
Daddy.
And I forgot.
You and Pat would be a great team. That would be a great.
Stop! I can only get so hard.
Oh wow!
And funny you say that.
Yeah.
Well, we are still looking. I should have asked Standing and Praise while they were in here. We are looking for a 2v2 on this subject in general.
Mark can get you in touch with Standing now.
On getting hard?
Oh, baby. Well, that too. Oh, my. But
not standing for truth tonight.
That's right. Looking forward to that. Woohoo! Now that is an episode I'll watch. Anyway, moving on to Bubble. Thank you so much, Jason. Bubble, we have been Midnight Ranting. We have been asking ourselves the duo of Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark, fact or fiction.
I timed him out, Bird.
Time.
No.
Well,
his question. Damn it.
And what are your final thoughts?
The all caps were hurting my eyes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It says debate. Yeah, I think Mark won. Like it's clear, like Kent is just trying to push his evangelical. I don't know what kind of Christianity he is, but that whatever he is.
He's a Christian. What do you mean? He's a
evangelicalism, fundamentalism.
Yeah. Hey, they hate the Catholics for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways,
they don't agree with him.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I don't buy the big boat. Doesn't seem possible. As for the flood, if every culture is saying there's this giant flood, even though
Not every
flood,
culture.
if floods happen every single, like they happen like almost every year, it's yearly, but they all relate this flood to their god in some sort of beginning kind of situation. I think there's something there. Either that or they're psychic. That's it.
Cool.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Bubble.
Who you laughing
And
at?
I
him,
swear, I think we need to have, because Catholic traditionalists used to come on the Discord server, first of all, hot. Second of all, but he would just like send malts of cocktails. Like he'd be like,
I had to kick him because everybody was complaining.
He does that on every single Discord server he's on. He just posts stuff and then runs.
If he had balls and Bubble, if these guys had balls, they would.
If he had a hairy penis
and just leave. Yeah, they would actually present it. They would come on here. I would have, because every once in a while he'd be like, "Oh, atheist, prove this," and it'd be like a video of like a lamp falling over, and it's like, I don't know anything. A dude behind the thing just pushed it over.
Actually, you know what? I take what back what I said earlier about Kent Hovind being the model you want to send to kids to be like, don't do meth. Catholic traditionalist is the model you want to send to schools and be like, kids, this is why you don't do meth.
He's a follower of Darth Dawkins. But
and Nathan Thompson.
You're ruining it, me. I'm trying to put an atheist helpline, Bob.
Gary, it's dinner time.
Gary.
Nathan Thompson too. He got actually arrested for trolling kids at the elementary school with the flat Earth bullshit.
Oh man, it's the gifts that never end.
The kids are laughing at him, telling him he's an idiot.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, dude, we learned about that in middle school." Nonetheless, let's passing it down. We only got a few left.
Pass the ball.
Having fun. Passing the
to
ball.
the big screen vegetarian.
Gonna pass it. That's right. Big Screen Bird has recently become a vegetarian ever since the flood story has been confirmed true in the past hour or so. So I'm handing it over to him to confirm and to explain his lovely final thoughts on Noah's Flood, Noah's Ark, fact or fiction.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that Kent, not a Dr. Hovind. Or my favorite was, can someone Google that for me? That was the best part of that debate. That was hilarious. Can someone Google that? Oh, okay, cool. So did Mark have a lifeline? No, he did not. Good job, Mark.
No, cheers. Thank you.
So, yeah, but I changed my mind. I'm now big screen vegetarian eagle instead of big screen bird because of reasons. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Bird. And all right, we normally have just two pilots, but we actually had the triple duo. So I'm gonna give it to my two last co-pilots of the night. We're gonna have James. I'm handing you the keys, and then I'm handing over to Mark. But James, we've been talking Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark, fact or fiction.
Oh boy, we have been. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming onto the stream. Get really good discussion. Got to talk to everybody. Yeah, Sammy, thank you so much. Mark, good debate tonight. Good stream tonight, guys. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming on. It was really good to see everybody, and we will do this again shortly. So,
woo.
Good night, Reid.
Thank you so very much. And
thanks, Reid. Good to meet you.
Hi, Raging Atheist.
Woohoo! And all right, the man of the hour. We have been talking about Noah's Flood and Noah's Ark. Had a fantastic debate on Standing for Truth, the link of which you can find in the description Mark, a pleasure just even having you on. As always, I hope you had fun. Where can people find you? And what are your final thoughts?
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate you doing an after show. I feel like I'm blushing, and like it was great. I had a
thanks for coming on our show to do it, letting us do it. It was really cool.
And I tell you what, I will reach out to. I think I've got Praise's email as well, so I'll just shoot them a quick email and sort of say no obligation. If I can pass through your email and say, hey, if you want to set up, people going back and forth to have debates, I think that'd be wonderful. I think it'd be a really good time for everybody. So I'm more than happy to do that, and I'm sure they won't mind. But yeah, is the Arc Factor fiction, absolute fiction, and I think Jason was absolutely on the money. But so many pieces of evidence just lead nowhere towards their conclusion. It is a faith-based conclusion. It absolutely is a faith-based conclusion. And I do apologize for being a bit slow. I like that debate against Kent. It was a hard debate. I had to follow along pretty hard, so I feel like my brain is a bit mushy at the moment. So I do apologize if I've been a bit lackluster, but I had a great time, and much love to everybody. Bubbles and Jason and Pat, Raging Atheist, Jen, Amaretto, James, of course, and of course the wonderful and amazingly awesome Amy. Thank you so much, everybody. Did I forget anybody? Oh, and Bird. How could I forget about Bird? Bird was like my number one cheerleader in there. He was absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
he got banned 7 times for you.
Yeah, I know, right? What a guy. Yeah, and became vegetarian. Yeah, nobody's ever turned vegetarian for me before.
Bird won
the new one.
Bird won the Simp Lord Award for the night, man.
I wasn't aware that was up for grabs.
Where were you? Gets it out.
Where were you? Why aren't you simping for me?
And then, of course, Dr. Flower floating on the logs.
Oh, yeah. That
oh, my God. That's so funny.
Was just baffling. Like, it was just,
Oh, there were flowers with pollen floating on the logs. That can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy my DVD. Number 6.
On logs, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. And the whole point is you need a whole field of flowers to support one beehive. So I don't know what his conception of
2 bees. All you need is 2 bees, a queen and a drone.
Drone.
I guess.
Yeah, except that neither the queen nor the drones actually collect food, so you kind of need some workers for that sunshine.
There you go.
No, it was a great debate. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mark.
I am absolutely blown away by all your kindness, and I love you all.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so very much, Mark. And all right, with that, I hope you all had a fun time.
Thanks, guys.
Woo-hoo! On this episode of Midnight Ranting, Noah's Flood, Noah's Ark, Fact or Fiction.
Complete bullshit.
Yeah. Where we put the global flood story in the hot seat and had an arkful, that's right, of fun. I want to thank my co-host James W. along with our special guest host Mark Reid.
Mark.
Woo-hoo. And our guests, Big Screen Bird, Bubble, Jason Torn, Amaretto, Pat Lowinger, The Raging Atheist, and Jen. Woohoo! Along with all of our awesome mods who make this stream so great, the people in chat, and all of our lovely viewers who make all of this possible. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget. I know exactly. Hi, Ian. Sending love. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Hey, baby. Then hit that bell icon so you can join our live streams. After the show, we will be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below, next to Mark's debate. Woohoo! For some fun, come join us. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more funny content, we offer some unique, more sodomy, more shake weights. We offer some unique community perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. Thanks, everyone. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone.
Skeptic balls.
And Moreto's got the balls.
My power level is over 9,000.